The final dungeon, after much effort and sweat, was marked by defeat. As monsters pursued them, the humans rushed toward the exit of this dungeon, which could close at any minute. Yet the creatures wouldn't give up, eager to take the lives of the people who had desecrated their realm. In that moment, as the heroes were about to be captured by the army of beasts drawing closer, one of them decided to act. Everyone was shocked as the one with the spear stopped running. The leader of this valiant group, known as Manhwa, urged him to stop this madness. Our protagonist responded with a simple smile, asking his friends to write his biography after returning to their home world. Back then, no one could have known what was about to happen. Humanity was certain it was the only intelligent race in creation. Suddenly, two men bumped into each other. The punk tried to pick a fight, yet what he saw left him startled. Humanity had no idea it wasn't the only intelligent race to roam this planet. The others were known as the civilization of burrowers. They were a different race of individuals that lived beneath the surface. The burrowers were completely separated from our world above. All at once, they began to emerge from the ground. All started to run in panic as giant beasts abruptly came to the surface. Humanity found itself fighting extinction as the burrowers sought to invade the surface. The people of the surface tried to fight back, yet their weapons were unable to damage the forces from underground. The burrowers seemed to be using some sort of unknown force. These powers were so strong that even the might of the military crumbled before them. Only afterward did hope in an instant emerge. People set out to mutate after being exposed to the unknown forces of the burrowers. The few individuals who were changed by these forces gained superpowers and became known as the Espers. And so, armed with these new abilities, the Espers were able to resist the invasion from the world below. Humanity next commenced to slowly regain hope as its champions managed to conquer the enemy's dungeons one at a time. And in the end, the final dungeon finally appeared. In the face of this danger, in the spring of 2005, humanity's 7 strongest Espers decided to join forces. They charged at the enemy's final dungeon, which served as their base, and were able to put an end to this long, bloody war. These Espers earned themselves the title of the 7 Heroes by doing the impossible and saving the human race. For their bravery and incredible feat, the 7 heroes were rewarded with great wealth and fame. Yet only 6 of the 7 heroes managed to bathe in glory. The day of the statue unveiling of Manhwa had finally arrived. The one who led the 7 heroes was the only one who didn't get to enjoy his victory. It came time to reveal the statue. And while the rest of the heroes became famous, their late leader, whose statue was unveiled, would be forever remembered as a legend. 17 years after this victory, the Korean team of the Battlefield National Athlete Competition was facing the French on the international battlefield in their capital in an ardent match. In front of the French team, which was attacking relentlessly, the Koreans found themselves greatly overwhelmed. The real problem was the French player, Nathan Bernard. This one player was single-handedly wiping out the Koreans and eliminating them one by one. At the end of his attack, Nathan left everyone impressed by slaying 6 players at once. And as the commentator claimed that Nathan was the most skilled player in the history of the International Battlefield League, someone was left irritated. The commentators started to discuss that Nathan was truly one of the 3 strongest Espers in the league, and that their team might already be doomed. The only Korean player remaining in the game was Baek Hyeon. Thus, everyone assumed that victory might still be possible as the girl charged at the French slayer. Baek Hyeon was about to use her signature attack on Nathan. In front of the incoming hit, he remained unfazed. Just like that, all Koreans were left on edge. But at that moment, Nathan immediately dodged the incoming attack. Nathan commended the talent of the daughter of one of the 7 heroes. Yet, he affirmed to her that she would never be able to beat him with such weak allies, before landing a quick final blow. And just like that, the Korean team found itself suffering a humiliating defeat. The French had scored a mighty victory of 11-0 against the Koreans, as Nathan single-handedly wiped out the enemy team in the second round. Korea was once one of the strongest when it came to its Espers. The golden days of this country wiping out dungeons were now a memory of the past. The head coach, Yahello, was particularly disappointed by this defeat. It was a shame to see the home country of the 2 heroes, Manhwa and Yahello, fall so low. In front of this utter defeat, the Korean head coach found himself filled with frustration. The commentators claimed that despite the French adversary being powerful, their conceit shouldn't have led to such a miserable loss. The online comments spoke for themselves as they claimed that their country had fallen off. Some blamed the government for this weakness, as it had banned the game, claiming it to be too violent, which made the players compete for other countries. The crowd set out to boo their pitiful national team. All were dissatisfied and claimed that this match was ridiculous. The man found himself devastated as he stood in front of this shameful result. Bak Jeho, who was a member of the Seven Heroes, couldn't be more disappointed. He was the newly appointed national head coach and had already suffered 3 defeats. At that moment, the link of the players had finally been cancelled. The head coach knew very well that everyone thought that Hyeon was the only real player on the Korean team. From the looks of it, it seemed like the glorious days of the Korean Aspirers were now a memory of the past. All the good players had left the country, and the remaining ones lacked power and determination. The head coach knew very well that things would be different if that one man had stayed alive. Baek Jeho immediately went to his waiting room, and as soon as he entered, the man let out a sigh. He at that point addressed his late friend. Jeho wished that Seoman Yeop was still alive. He contemplated the picture of his team leader with great respect and admiration. Only afterward did someone knock on the door. One of the staff members urged the coach to go to the interviews, as everyone was awaiting his arrival. The coach sat in exhaustion. Jeho wanted to apologize to the Koreans for this defeat, claiming that his only role in this position was to apologize. Jeho was certain that the Korean team was doomed, as its members were deprived of determination as well as basic skills. The staff member tried to argue that he was still new at this job and that he should just give it some time. Yet the coach refused and claimed that he needed to resign during the interview. He clarified that the only way for him to not risk his reputation and keep his position was for his late friend himself to appear in front of him. Jeho had already made up his mind. He decided to quit his position as soon as possible. At that moment, his phone commenced to ring. Seeing how the president of the association was calling, the coach assumed that a scolding session awaited him. As soon as he picked up, the president asked him if he was aware of what happened. Jeho immediately assumed that the man was talking about the crushing defeat that their national team had suffered. But the president affirmed that he was referring to something far more important. Upon hearing the news, Jeho was left utterly shocked. A dungeon gate had all at once opened in the sky, and from it, something fell from above. The object crashed right in front of the statue of this hero. 3 statues stood in the plaza of Gwanghwamun, with the first 2 being in honor of Yi Sun-sin and King Sejong. As for the third, it was the most recent one. It represented the leader of the 7 heroes, who gave up his own life in order to let the 6 others go home, Seoman Yeop. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes, as the legendary hero had returned home. His fellow teammate was unable to process this incredible news. The object that fell from the sky was none other than the legendary Seoman Yeop, who reappeared once again, 17 years after the final battle. Yeop tried his best to hold his ground. Noticing a monster coming from behind, he quickly turned and slashed it with his spear. Yet more and more burrowers kept coming. Thus, the hero changed his grip on his spear before firmly grabbing it and giving the enemy a death stare. None of the fiends there dared to approach. After many efforts, Yeop had achieved his goal. He was able to successfully hold his ground until the gates had closed. Now outnumbered and facing an unavoidable demise, the legendary hero stood tall and used the last of his strength in order to take as many burrowers with him to the afterlife. Shortly after, he opened his eyes. Seoman Yeop had finally woken up. Our protagonist was now in a hospital bed. One of the staff members was shocked to see him awake. Seoman Yeop asked about his whereabouts, and upon learning that he was in a hospital, the legendary hero was left utterly shocked. The protagonist was even more baffled to learn that it was now the year. In 2021, he found himself unable to believe it. He had just returned from his last battle in 2005. The nurse wanted to explain everything, but she abruptly got an idea. She quickly turned on the television and asked the legendary hero to watch. Watch it carefully. Yeop was now watching the news. The representative explained that the head of the 7 heroes, who had returned after 17 years after being assumed dead, was now at the hospital. According to him, our unconscious protagonist fell from the sky in front of his own statue with a few minor injuries. He was wearing the same attire that he had when he entered the dungeon. It was theorized that he had retained his youthful appearance due to being an esper. Yet the most logical assumption for the legendary hero not aging a day was him going through a hole in the space-time continuum. After hearing this, Yeop had no choice but to accept that his yesterday was 17 years ago. The nurse explained that this was the reason a crowd had gathered outside. She explained that many reporters were swarming the gates of the hospital, with our protagonist seeing the journalists securing his whereabouts like bugs. Yeop found himself greatly annoyed that the press still hadn't changed, even after almost 2 decades. Our hero next asked for a mirror. As soon as the nurse handed it to him, he started to examine himself and was shocked to see that he had retained his youthful appearance. The 47-year-old legendary hero was convinced that a space-time hole was the only explanation behind his looks, despite never seeing one that lasted 17 years. Only at that point did our hero realize something horrifying. Yeop set out to shake as he asked about his wealth from 2005. So the nurse explained that it had been donated to a children's charity, just as his will commanded, leaving him horrified. As he asked about his house, he learned that it had turned into a museum about him. As for the car of the legendary hero, it had been set at auction for the sake of charity. After hearing all of this, the savior of humanity was left baffled. The legendary hero just realized that he was now broke and homeless. As he commenced regretting not leaving anything in his name just in case, the nurse couldn't help but chuckle by informing him that Baek Jeho had been informed of his return and was coming soon. The nurse claimed that he would arrive in a short time. Before finally leaving, she asked the protagonist to ring the bell in case he required anything. And just like that, the woman left the room. Yeop was now left alone to analyze this situation. Despite living through these odd events, our protagonist still had a hard time fathoming them. Seeing how there was still some time before the arrival of his friends, Yeop decided to check up on his own health. And just like that, he deployed his scanner eyes. This unique skill, which allows the user to see and analyze the skills of living targets, allowed the legendary hero to become the world's strongest. On top of allowing the user to analyze the current skills of the target, it also permitted him to spot the skills and abilities that the target could potentially awaken. Because of his scanner eyes, our hero was able to evolve faster than any other esper. This also allowed the protagonist to become a party leader at a young age. Back in the day, someone begged Yeop to become his master. That person was none other than Jeho, who would later become a fellow hero. Upon taking a look at his stats, our protagonist realized that the young man was stronger than he seemed. In fact, it was safe to say that Jeho had immense potential. Thus, our hero accepted to take the young man under his wing, but claimed that he wouldn't always be able to ensure his safety. Yet this one didn't mind. And just like that, the scanner eyes allowed the protagonist to spot a potential that could save humanity. After using his skill on himself, the young man was pleased to see that his stats were still the same after 17 years, only to afterward be surprised as he realized that his focus level was abnormal. Yeop couldn't understand how he had surpassed the person average by 10 points. Yet this wasn't the only thing that he had noticed. Our protagonist had unlocked the immortality skill, which granted him immunity against physical death. The baffled Yeop took a moment to analyze how an esper whose abilities evolve according to the environment could acquire such a powerful skill. After careful thinking, he realized that his sacrificial act might be the reason he became immortal. But just as our hero was about to come to a realization, someone in an instant entered the room. Upon seeing the man barge through the door, Yeop immediately realized who he was. After 17 years, our protagonist, he, had been reunited with Jeho. Upon seeing his supposedly deceased friend back, Jeho found himself unable to hold back his tears. Yeop didn't waste time calling out his friend for losing most of his strength. The middle-aged man tried to wipe away his tears before clarifying that the weakness was the result of peace. Later, on the rooftop of the hospital, our hero asked his friend if he had finally stopped crying. Jeho told Yeop that he would also become this emotional once he reached middle age, so our hero clarified that there was still some time before that. Our hero next asked him if he had stayed true to his word. Yet Jeho didn't know what the protagonist was talking about. Yeop clarified that he was referring to his biography. Jeho explained that he had hired a ghostwriter who was known for fantasy novels, which made the protagonist curious about the plot. The man explained that after the book, documentaries, and a movie that became #1 worldwide. They all looked invincible despite their bad plots. Yet the legendary hero couldn't care less. After his grand sacrifice, he woke up alive in 2021, where he had to adapt to all the new things, which was hard to fathom. Yap found it ironic that after saving the world, he was now a homeless man without a cent to his name. Jaeho decided to reassure him. He clarified that he would be the one to support our hero financially. Yap was happy to see Jaeho becoming so mature and claimed that he must have acquired a fortune in the 17 years. The man explained that after the war, he received a huge reward and had to invest it in some way, as one couldn't spend his days wastefully. Jaeho's pride was all at once hurt, as the protagonist claimed that it was a shock to see that someone as incompetent as him had managed to run a business for so long. So the man revealed that he was forced to let a pro handle his business. Yup started to tease his friend about being unemployed, yet Jaeho affirmed that this wasn't the case. And so Yup asked about his job. The man took a deep breath before revealing that he was the head coach of the Korean team. Yup was intrigued by the shamefaced look on his friend's face as he asked about the nature of this sport. So Jaeho decided to show him everything. The protagonist was shocked as he saw young warriors fight each other, as well as creatures. This left him quite confused, as dungeons should have disappeared long ago. So Jaeho explained that he was currently watching the virtual sport battlefield. The coach explained to the hero that these were virtual dungeons, where two teams competed for the sake of entertainment. This sport, which quickly became the world's most popular, allowed the talents of the espers to be redirected toward a new business. At the end of the war, Yap claimed that this sport seemed more like a replica of a Dungeons & Dragons game. So Jaeho clarified that some of the athletes in this game could give him and the rest of the heroes a run for their money, and that World Cups meant a lot for the countries. Upon hearing this, the legendary hero asked about the ranking of his country. His friend didn't know what to say. Thinking that he hadn't heard his question, the protagonist decided to ask about Korea's rank once again. Yeop revealed that in 2005, their land, despite its small population, had a lot of powerful warriors, which is why he assumed that his country was among the strongest. So the head coach decided to reveal the truth by affirming that Korea was currently the weakest country. Upon hearing this, the protagonist was left quite shocked. He at that point turned to his friend and was left utterly baffled. Later, in the car, it was explained that the one who defies the villain ultimately becomes the new threat. Yet Yeop didn't quite understand what his friend meant. Jaeho tried to explain that this was the reason behind the weakness of their country. Yet our hero still couldn't catch up. It was afterward explained to our hero that, after the war, the authorities set out to fear that the espers would rebel against them to satisfy their thirst for ability. Jaeho explained that Battlefield was banned in Korea as the higher-ups tried to control him, as well as the rest of the talented warriors. After hearing this, everything became clear to our hero. He had guessed that all of the promising Korean espers fled the country in order to participate in the sport under another flag. Yeop was annoyed by the fact that corrupt politicians were still in capability after 17 years and regretted not teaching them a lesson at the time. So Jaeho pointed out how the hero had always argued with presidents and ministers, making him claim that he didn't want to be used. Like a weapon, Jaeho explained that they had to make a fresh start, which is why the Korean athletes were weak. Before he could ask our protagonist the question, Yeop immediately refused. Yeop had guessed that his friend would ask him to play for the Korean team. The coach tried to argue that the protagonist would be wasting his prime by refusing, only to be told that this wasn't the case. As Yeop revealed that he had ended his fighting days in the last dungeon, Jaeho claimed that he only wanted him as an athlete, not a burdened warrior. The protagonist next shocked his friend by revealing that he was never the type to worry about others. When he was young, our hero fought in order to live on, and once he was an adult, he picked up the spear for glory. For this reason, from now on, Yeop wished to live as he pleased. Another reason was that he would be greatly pressured by the media, who would expect great things from him. Yeop affirmed that he despised the very idea of battlefield sport, as it seemed like ridiculous entertainment. Thus, the head coach decided to stop trying to convince him. The protagonist at that point noticed something intriguing. Jaeho was shocked, as Yeop claimed that there might be some hope left for the Korean athletes, saying that they still had the likes of a certain lady while pointing outside the car. our hero was pointing at a billboard of Baek Haeon. Yeop commenced to gaze at the fierce look in the beautiful lady's eyes, claiming that she was his type. Yet, to his shock, his best friend revealed that this was his daughter. Yeop pointed out that Haeon was 6 years old. So the head coach reminded him that time had passed and that she was now 23. The protagonist desperately tried to correct his mistake by claiming that she had grown up well. So Jeho urged him to stop making a fool of himself. And just like that, they continued the ride in silence. Shortly after, the heroes arrived at their destination. Han Seong-hee, who was Jeho's wife, was delighted upon seeing our protagonist, and while she pointed out that she hadn't seen him in 17 years, our hero claimed that it had only been 7 days for him. Han Seong-hee stated that her appearance must have changed a lot in those so-called 7 days, but the legendary hero politely claimed that he hadn't noticed. As the wife pointed out that her husband must be tired after traveling such a long way, Jeho stated that he was doing the minimum for his friend who came back to life. After seeing this interaction, the current reality finally sunk into the mind of our hero. Yeop finally accepted the fact that he was now in an era of peace and quiet. Thus, he started to wonder what he should do with his life. For the time being, our hero decided to let himself go by enjoying some chips and lounging on the couch while watching TV. Only afterward did he spot something that got his attention. After seeing a show known as Stairs of Hell, Yeop got quickly excited, as he never got to see its ending back in 2005. With that being said, his mind was finally set. The legendary hero had finally found a new goal for his life. Yeop decided to drown himself in chips as he binged the entire series. In fact, he even decided to watch every show that he had missed in the past 17 years, which greatly shocked his friend. Jeho had a hard time believing this and rushed to ask his friend if he was truly going to watch every show from 2005 until now and nothing else. Yeop found it ironic that the one who told him to live as he pleased was now questioning his life choices. So Jeho explained that it wasn't the case, before pointing out the crowd of reporters that had been camping outside the house for days in order to see the protagonist. This greatly annoyed the legendary hero. After seeing the immense crowd of journalists outside, the protagonist couldn't help but compare them to a bunch of parasites. Thus, he decided to take things into his own hands. Yeop urged Jeho to have the reporters gathered for tomorrow. The purpose of our hero was to drive them out of his life. And so, the next day, at a fancy hotel, all cameras were pointed at him. The journalists, who didn't expect him to enter the room so quickly, set out to wonder if the legendary hero would throw one of his signature tantrums if upset. Now came the time to begin the press conference. Yeop explained that he had mysteriously come back from the dungeon, and that it must be even more intriguing for them than it was for him. Jeho was happy to see that his friend was handling the press like a civilized person for once, only for Yeop to claim that he hates. Being the center of their attention and urging them to ask their questions and leave him alone. This made the head coach quickly realize that his friend was still the same. As the questions rained down, Yeop explained that he had no idea how he returned, that he didn't feel time pass, and that he sees the other heroes as co-workers. After affirming to the press that he was now broke, he decided to handle the question of the bald man. The man immediately pointed out how the head coach must have told him about Battlefield. All went silent as the journalist asked the legendary hero if he intended to enter it as an athlete. The room quickly became agitated. The question that the head coach feared the most had finally arrived. Yeop quickly confirmed that he won't enter Battlefield. When asked for a reason, he claimed that he simply doesn't wish for this kind of career. The journalist claimed that the legendary hero must be doubting his own title as the strongest, only for the legendary hero to quickly comment on his poor hairline, leaving him quite embarrassed. Yeop claimed that Battlefield seems boring and that he won't waste his talent amusing the crowd. With that being stated, Jeho decided to put an end to the press conference. Yeop claimed that these answers should have satisfied the journalists before urging them to get out of his life. With that being remarked, our hero finally bid the camera farewell. As he walked away, the head coach commenced to thank the journalists for coming all this way. Only next did a journalist decide to ask him one last question. This one wanted to know the opinion of the protagonist regarding the player Gerald Walker, who claimed that he could beat him along with the other 6 heroes. Yeop was greatly shocked by this and asked about this player. The reporter quickly revealed that Gerald Walker was a star American tanker and the pride of the U.S. The protagonist demanded to know if Gerald was the strongest Esper. It was revealed to him that the top three consisted of the Frenchman Nathan Bernard, the German Daniel Muntz, as well as the Irishman Roy Meyer. Despite the American player being powerful, he wasn't considered among the strongest athletes. Yap sighed as he claimed that, despite the long time that he had been away, Gerald Walker should at least show some humility, seeing how he wasn't even the best player in the league. Yap even claimed that he would gladly take on the American tanker in a one-on-one battle outside of his virtual sport. Our hero wanted to personally teach this arrogant player a lesson. After seeing this on TV, Zachary Wood, who was the CEO of the Battlefield Player Agency, asked Gerald about his opinion regarding the matter. Gerald quickly crushed the remote. The tank player was infuriated by those words and urged the CEO to immediately arrange him a flight to Korea. The next day, someone received the startling news of a match with the US. As Jaeho complained that this was too sudden, the legendary hero found his screaming annoying, and just as Jaeho started to scream at him, Yop closed the call. When asked about the matter, the head coach revealed that there is an official match with America in 2 weeks. While the hero claimed that he couldn't care less, Jaeho affirmed that this was his fault for provoking Gerald Walker. The protagonist failed to recognize this name, so the head coach reminded him that this was the man he had flipped off on live TV while claiming that he would teach him a lesson. According to the head coach, Gerald was greatly pissed off by what the protagonist declared about him, which he found rather petty. The American also decided to take out his anger on the Korean team, as the one who claimed that he wasn't even among the strongest players refused to enter the game. Yop found this rather odd, as he had no relation to the Korean team. As the head coach needed to deal with the mess his friend made, Yop claimed that he would enjoy life for now. Only at that point did our hero realize something about the upcoming match. Hayeon would also be participating, seeing how she was playing for the Korean team. Later on, someone screamed that they had arrived home. Yop was startled by the sound, but as he turned around to see who it was, he was left quite shocked. The girl had returned home early. Hayeon claimed that she wanted to see her parents, but most of all, her uncle who went missing 17 years ago. When she asked about his whereabouts, her mom revealed that he was in the living room. As soon as the legendary hero greeted her, Hayeon was left quite overjoyed. So she rushed forward and hugged her uncle Yop. Yop reminded her she was an adult now, as her hug turned into a tackle. She claimed that she was happy with his return. He had feared that his niece had forgotten about him in those 17 long years. Hayeon claimed that she could never forget about him, as he always spent time with her and gave her the snacks that her parents refused to buy. As he pointed out how fast she had grown up, the girl revealed that she was now 23. Yop afterward asked his niece if she had come back for the match, making her reveal that her main reason for returning was to see him. Hayeon next abruptly leaned in closer. She wanted to know if her uncle truly didn't want to enter Battlefield. Yop assumed that the girl's father had put her up to this and affirmed that he wouldn't become an athlete. When asked about the reason, our hero claimed that he had a lot of shows he needed to catch up with. Hayeon tried to beg nicely, yet the protagonist refused. This made the girl claim that her uncle had changed, only for him to state that it was the other way around. As she pointed out that he used to give her anything she desired, he claimed that back at that point, the most she would ask for was snacks. Only afterward did the girl get an idea. Seeing how her uncle refused to become an athlete, she asked him to at least come with her for the avatar check at the league. The legendary hero tried to state that he had a final episode to watch, but after seeing his niece resort to her puppy eyes, the man found himself with no choice but to accept and ask about their destination. Hayeon claimed that he would see once he got there. A little later, uncle and niece were welcomed to the Korean Battlefield Association. The staff member urged them to follow him. Our hero set out to examine the room carefully. The man next stated that they would begin with the avatar check for the athlete. With the weapon and armor having been analyzed, the synchronization of the avatar was a success. The girl braced herself before finally connecting, and just like that, Hayeon was now on screen. The girl at that point urged her uncle to observe carefully as she asked the man for a creature in order to test the avatar. As the professional athlete braced herself, a werewolf-like beast appeared on the battlefield. Yup was greatly shocked by this. The man explained that since Battlefield was a VR sport, they could recreate constructions players and creatures alike in the virtual world. As he explained that new players needed to make their avatar in this association, the protagonist found it not far from his reality. With that being noted, he decided to check the skills of his niece. The werewolf decided to make the first move, charging headfirst at the Korean athlete. She immediately resorted to her whip, and with a swift move of the wrist, she was able to get a hold on the neck of the hound. The fiend now had no way to defend itself. Haeyeon afterward redirected her trajectory before charging at it from above, and just like that, the girl decapitated the werewolf at once. She was rather pleased with the result. With the test finally having reached its end, the player was now free to return to the real world. Haeyeon let out a satisfied smile. After returning to the real world, the niece immediately asked her uncle about her performance. But as the hero claimed that she had a lot to learn despite being a talented fighter, Haeyeon urged him to give it a spin while pointing out that she was now an adult. Yap affirmed once again that he was firmly against entering battlefield, so his niece claimed that she was only asking him to make an avatar. Haeyeon also wanted to satisfy her curiosity regarding the great strength of the legendary hero that she had heard about from her dad. She claimed that as soon as she got old enough to understand fights, Yeop had already disappeared. Seeing how much she was insisting, our protagonist realized that he was defeated once again. Thus, he accepted to give it a try while affirming that he was simply satisfying the curiosity of his niece, who was deeply thankful. The staff member, Cookie, noticed that the protagonist wanted to create an avatar. He explained that normal players would have their stats measured before the test, yet Yeop was free to immediately enter the virtual world, as he wouldn't be partaking in any match. Yeop next asked if he could enter the VR as he was, so the man explained that by doing so, he would enter the dungeon with no weapons and in his current attire. Thus, he urged him to take a weapon with him. Our hero claimed that those weapons exhausted their users. The carriers were light for their size, making the man claim that those were normal weapons for the testing room. When asked if he would like something else instead, Yeop contented himself with what he had, as he claimed that the shield would only get in his way and that the spear was enough for him. And just like that, the legendary hero finally agreed to enter the virtual dungeon. Once the loading was done and everything had been analyzed, the scan finally ended, and the avatar based on the protagonist was about to be created. As soon as he opened his eyes, the man asked our hero if he could hear him. It was explained to the legendary hero that this virtual reality was an exact copy of the testing facility. Yap was shocked, as he almost felt like he was truly going inside a real dungeon gate. The man at that point explained to the hero that his avatar's synchronization would be very easy. As his niece wished him good fortune, the legendary hero asked for a creature with the same stats as the one that his niece had faced. And so, with the press of a button, it commenced to generate. The pixels quickly started to take form, and just like that, the protagonist found himself in front of a giant beast that he immediately recognized as a Salaboon. As Yeop pointed out that these beasts seemed too different from the ones he had faced, the man noted that those were a special kind that were only weak to aura. The protagonist was also informed that data had been gathered in order to code the strongest possible form of the fiend. With that being stated, the Salaboon charged at the legendary hero. This one didn't flinch and kept on waiting. Only afterward did the perfect opportunity arrive. The disappointed protagonist quickly threw his spear, claiming that it wouldn't be necessary. He next braced himself before ending the creature with a single attack. Those watching him from the real world were left baffled. The professional athlete was particularly shocked. When asked if he truly had defeated a Salaboon with a single finger, our hero stated that it was an easy feat before criticizing the corpse animation of the beast. The man explained that this breed of fiend wasn't particularly reputed for its ability, but it also wasn't weak enough to be slain by a single finger. Yap at that point urged the man to give him another, better creature, claiming that he needed to put something to the test. Our hero was shocked to see that this VR was no different from the real world, which made it perfect for the upcoming test. Yap, who defeated the beast that was supposedly the strongest of his race, demanded something more challenging. Only afterward did a mysterious voice claim that the legendary hero wouldn't be content with a simple Salaboon. The Korean man was intrigued by the sudden words spoken in English. The man was particularly shocked as the system set out to act on its own. He tried his best to retake control of the situation, but an outsider had breached the security and was trying to take control of the system. Only next did an angry presence arrive, barging through the giant hole in the wall before slicing up the fiend and finally sticking the landing. The bald man wanted to know if the legendary hero was still up for a fight. Yap recognized the one in front of him. The American explained that the Korean had challenged him first and that it was pretty cowardly of him to keep silent after seeing him actually take on the invitation. The star tanker couldn't care less about our protagonist being one of the 7 heroes and was determined to expose him as a fraud. That being remarked, Gerald charged at the protagonist. Yap didn't even move as this one launched his attack. The swing of the axe dealt great damage, yet the tanker was shocked to see that it had missed and that his enemy was nowhere to be seen. Shock turned into startlement as the other one, who had snuck behind him, claimed that he wasn't afraid. At last, the legendary hero had found a worthy challenge. With that being declared, the Korean and the American were now face to face, and as tensions slowly commenced to escalate between the two, they were being watched on the big screen. Hyon had a hard time following what was happening. A voice at that point claimed that everything was under control. As the door opened, 3 new individuals entered the room. The one with white hair assured the pro athlete that he had already agreed to this encounter. The man and the girl were shocked to see the head coach as well as the president of the association arrive. Seeing how surprised they seemed, the president explained that everything had been agreed on and that the staff must not have received the news yet. Park Jin-tae, who was the president of the Korean The Battlefield Association, asked Miss Moss if everything was to her taste. Emma Moss, who was the manager of the American player, thanked the president for granting their unusual request. Park Jin-tae laughed as he pointed out that the legendary hero wouldn't be able to oppose the decision, as he had treated him to countless meals in the past. In fact, the president thinks that this confrontation was for the better, as it might be what the protagonist needs to awaken his desire to participate in the battlefield. Back to the fight, both the Korean and the American swung their weapons at each other and clashed with all of their might, which resulted in a great burst of energy. The clash was so powerful that it blew our hero a few steps back. Even the sturdy tanker wasn't spared from the recoil of the shockwave. Now, as they stood face to face, Yap admits to having underestimated his opponent. He decided to use his scanner eyes. This allowed him to fully see the stats and skills of his opponent. The protagonist was shocked, as his endurance and strength were maxed out, which makes him an elite tanker, as well as having decent focus. Our hero started to think that the American that seemed like he had the capability to back up his arrogance. Gerald urged the Korean to stop eyeing him and resume the fight already. Yap theorized that the talented tanker, who had both bark and bite, would have been a great help in the final dungeon back in 2005. And just as the protagonist set out to analyze the ability of his opponent that was perfect for his class, he in an instant pondered of something. Our hero commenced to think about his new ability. Yup, who originally planned to use a virtual creature in order to test this strength that he discovered in the hospital, decided to use the American instead. And with that being noted, he charged headfirst at his opponent with a shocking speed. Gerald swung his axe while thinking about how predictable the move of his opponent was. The tank was afterward shocked as his opponent canceled his charge right before hitting him. Yap had now begun the test, and right before the axe could hit him, he stated to his opponent that he would show him a neat trick. With that being stated, our hero found himself getting slammed to the ground. Hyeon was shocked to see this happen, as the niece asked her uncle for the reason he refused to evade an attack that he could have easily dodged. Gerald found it rather odd that his opponent stood still in front of his attack, as if he aimed to be hit. But just as he tried to analyze the situation, a voice all at once claimed that it didn't expect to feel so much pain from a single attack. After hearing this, the American was left startled. Gerald next did his best in order to evade the incoming projectile at the last second. The man was shocked by all of this and was even more intrigued. Upon realizing that a spear had been thrown at him, he found this unbelievable, as the Korean should have been eliminated after refusing to defend against an incoming attack. The tank was even more shocked as he started to hear coughs. Yap was surprised to see that the programmers took the time to even add the smoke. Those in the control room were left utterly shocked, while the tank found himself unable to believe his own 2 eyes. Thus, as the smoke set out to dissipate, the unscratched legendary hero revealed himself. And just like that, he fulfilled his promise by showing his opponent the remarked neat trick. The immortality skill that allows the protagonist to escape physical death had been activated. Yap at that point quickly asked his opponent his opinion regarding this little performance. This one demanded to know how the protagonist survived an attack head-on. So the legendary hero, who found his test successful, declared that he had acquired immortality during the battle of the last dungeon. He was shocked to see that he had gained a healing factor on top of immortality and realized that things weren't fair. So he decided to turn to the man in the control room. As our protagonist explained the situation to the man, this one was left quite baffled by this one-of-a-kind skill. Yap noted that it would be low of him to resort to such an ability and demanded it be removed from the avatar, which the man claimed was doable. And so, after a few presses of buttons, the man had successfully restrained the immortality skill of the protagonist. Seeing how shocked the American was, Yap revealed that he wanted to test this ability, as it was brand new. Afterward, he explained that he doesn't want Gerald to blame his loss on an overpowered ability such as immortality. Seeing this, the American firmly grabbed the spirit of the Korean and commenced to approach him. He next gave it back while claiming that the arrogance of his opponent lived up to its reputation. While wondering if it was the same for his skills, Yap clarified that it wasn't the case, as the rumors didn't do his great capability justice. The tank claimed that he would like to see it for himself while urging the protagonist to resume their fight, as it was finally a fair one-on-one. The legendary hero tried to argue that the American should at least go defeat the top 3 before challenging him for a second round. And as soon as he insinuated that he wasn't the strongest in the league, Gerald was left quite angered. Upon seeing the large one charge at him, the protagonist realized that his words must have hit home. Gerald was determined not to hold back, and so started a relentless rampage of axe swings. And in the end, the most powerful of the slashes ultimately missed the target that abruptly vanished. Only at that point did the tank realize that the spearman was right behind him. And as soon as he turned around, the American noticed that the Korean was striking him with an unexpected move. And despite being quite surprised, the heavy one managed to escape just in time from the swift blow. The legendary hero couldn't help but acknowledge the skill of his opponent, who clearly had a reduced vision field due to his giant shield. Even so, he decided to finally end the fight. And so, after bracing himself, the Korean launched his spear with all of his might. The tank managed to catch it with his shield at the right moment. Even so, the throw was so powerful that it managed to blow him away a few feet. And while the protagonist was satisfied with these results, the tank found himself troubled. He was horrified to see that the quick projectile managed to change trajectories mid-air, which showcased the powerful control level of its wielder. Gerald had finally tasted the might of the legendary hero, who claimed that the victory was his. The American tried to argue that the fight wouldn't be over as long as he lived, making the Korean reveal that he had deliberately spared him. Gerald was afterward confused, as Yap stated that his giant shield was a liability. He became more and more intrigued as the protagonist urged him to use a smaller shield in order to become a better tank. Yap stated that he was giving him tips because he acknowledged his talent, while stating that the huge shield was limiting his field of vision. Gerald was next particularly shocked, as Yap correctly guessed that he was told that his vision wasn't wide enough back in his younger days. Our hero at that point theorized that this was the reason he decided to use a bigger shield, to increase his defense and give himself time to analyze the situation. He also explained that this wasn't a good solution, as the huge shield would turn against him in the face of someone skilled enough to abuse his tiny field of vision. For this reason, he suggested to the agile tank to use a smaller shield, as it would improve his performance later on. When asked if he was serious about those steps, Yap revealed that even with them, the tank wouldn't be able to take him down. In the end, the American claimed that it might be beneficial to pick up a smaller shield. After seeing this on the huge screen, the head coach was left shocked that his friend was helping the already powerful enemy player improve his game. That being stated, the protagonist decided to leave and rush back to his shows back home. Yet before leaving, he claimed that he would charge Gerald a tuition fee for all the great tips that he had granted him. The man agreed, but affirmed that he had his own terms. This left the protagonist rather confused. Gerald demanded Yap grant him a second fight during the official match. Hearing this, the legendary hero, who was too busy with his shows, affirmed that he doesn't care about Battlefield and even canceled the tuition fee. The tank grabbed the Korean by the shoulder, clarifying that he would do anything in order to see him participate. Yet Yeop refused to go back on his decision. Seeing how the American firmly demanded a second fight, the Korean realized that he was dealing with a madman. Gerald screamed at the legendary hero for daring to waste his potential, making Yeop claim that he was free to use his strength as he pleased. And so, as the two of them kept on arguing in the virtual reality, those in the real world watched in bafflement. Only afterward did something strike the mind of Park Jin-tae. The president, in an instant, had a sneaky idea to use the situation for his own benefit. The next day at the Black residence, as he kept on watching his show, our protagonist set out to wonder if the two main characters would finally become a couple, when all at once, a flash news alert interrupted him. Important binge-watching left him quite disappointed, as things were just getting interesting. The news declared that the legendary hero who claimed that he wouldn't become an athlete might change his mind after his spar with the American tank. This one watched as the journalist revealed that this scoop was built on a low-quality video sent to them by an anonymous individual. It was also revealed that America's terms were that if they managed to win against Korea with a crushing defeat, Seom and Yeop would be forced to enter the next match. And as it was reported that the legendary hero himself had agreed to this condition, our protagonist was left baffled, seeing how they were abruptly putting words in his mouth. Later on, at the Korean Battlefield Association, a Karen stormed the building. This one demanded an explanation and urged the president to clarify everything. Our hero demanded to know who was the one that gave the video to the media, and he wanted to deal with them personally. He next demanded an explanation about the video itself, as the part where he refuses to enter the competition was clearly cut out. And so, as the protagonist claimed that he would kill the culprit, many were shocked as the president of the association formally apologized for the inconvenience. Park Jin-tae revealed that since the tank was supported by the powerful U.S. Eden, and with the media and the superiors pressuring him, he had no choice but to comply. Despite understanding the struggle of his friend, the protagonist still wanted to argue. For this, he quickly assured him, calling the president by name, that he had a brilliant tactic in order to keep his friend out of Battlefield, as Yeop would only be forced to participate if the United States wins without suffering a single death. The president revealed that he had told the U.S. that the legendary hero would only participate if they had proven their worth. Yet, as he explained that their not-so-weak Korean team would surely take out a few Americans, Yeop immediately refused, affirming once again that he doesn't want to participate. Park Jin-tae revealed that this term, unlikely to be satisfied, was the only way to arrange things, before playing the friendship card and asking the protagonist for this one favor. The president even commenced to beg, claiming that all of the funds would be given to a charity of the hero's choice. Despite being irritated by this matter, Yeop knew that he couldn't simply discard his long-term friendship with Park Jin-tae. Thus, he finally agreed, leaving the old man overjoyed. The president was so pleased that he rushed to kiss Yeop, who desperately tried to keep him away. The legendary hero at that point affirmed that the association has to stop pressuring him to join if even one of the Americans goes down. Park Jin-tae gave his old friend his word, and so, as the president proposed going to a nice restaurant, Yeop wanted to know if the president would be inviting him. The man who knew a nice place confirmed that he would be the one treating. Despite wanting to keep his promise, the president felt sorry for the legendary hero, as the battle simulations made things very clear. A little later, at the house of the head coach, the news revealed that the Battlefield Association had personally confirmed that Yeop had agreed to the terms and conditions of the U.S. Another channel was also announcing the same, as well as a third. Seeing how the news was everywhere on television, the protagonist couldn't take it any longer, as the scoop about him replaced every show. Seeing how much his friendship with the president was complicating things, he started considering discarding their friendship. And so, as yet another one of his shows had been replaced with some breaking news about him, the legendary binge watcher was left extremely irritated. Thus, he decided to turn off the television and look outside. And just as the protagonist was about to pity his misfortune, his attention was in an instant grabbed by something coming from the backyard. Yap rushed to check it out. As soon as she touched the cone, Hyeon used her incredible speed in order to dash toward the other. This left her uncle somewhat impressed. The father afterward tossed a ball that the little girl immediately noticed. In a flash, the athlete resorted to her web in order to quickly catch it. Upon seeing this, the uncle realized that his niece must be practicing. Jeho praised his daughter for her speed, but claimed that she needed to be even faster in order to help her teammates, seeing how she was an assistant stealer. Yep claimed that his friend was being too severe on his own daughter, and so he decided to use his scanner eyes. And just like that, the stats of his niece were already revealed to him. Yop quickly noticed that the girl had excellent speed and agility, with the second one having already been maxed out. Yet it was safe to say that her potential in these categories was clearly inferior to her father's, meant she wouldn't be able to reach the level he expected. But seeing how she outclassed him in strength and resistance, it wouldn't be right to make her an assistant stealer. The legendary hero concluded that the training method that was excellent for his friend might not be the best choice for his daughter. Hyeon was exhausted and demanded a little break. Our hero set out to worry, seeing how the one who had just noticed him was the strongest player on the national team. And yet, with this kind of training, she wouldn't be able to take out a single American player. Hyeon asked her uncle if he had watched her practice, so he confirmed and claimed that this training might not be suited for her. Jeho tried to claim that his daughter just needed a little more practice in order to acquire the necessary speed. So the legendary hero affirmed to his friend that he and his daughter were two different people. Yop revealed that agility and speed training weren't necessary any longer, as the girl didn't have as much potential as him regarding these categories. According to him, her skills with the web, as well as her agility, had already reached their full potential. Yop next guessed that the head coach wanted to train his daughter to assume the same role as him due to her speed skills. Yet, this wouldn't suit her. The uncle at that point turned his attention to his niece. When asked about the next step after catching the target with the whip, the girl claimed that she would destabilize it before giving it to her team. Yop claimed that this wasn't right and that she needed to kill it by herself. He revealed that she wouldn't be as good of an assistant stealer as her father, as she didn't have his speed or agility or even allies to deal the finishing blow. Thus, he urged her to focus on her swordsmanship as well as strength in order to deal the finishing blow. The protagonist afterward picked her weapons up before deciding to show them a demonstration. Now, in front of the training dummy, he quickly resorted to the whip in order to successfully catch the target. The legendary hero next explained that as soon as the enemy had been immobilized, they needed to be finished off with a sword immediately. Yeop at that point asked father and daughter if they had understood him, but those two stood speechless after seeing this. The legendary hero afterward explained that since a whip alone can't secure a kill, it would be in her best interest to maximize her swordsmanship as well as her strength. With that being remarked, he personally changed the girl's position to a close-range dealer. Yet, as he addressed her father, both of them were left confused. And as Yeop ordered the girl to start a strength training that consisted of 500 sets, father and daughter were left blown away. The legendary hero next urged the girl to start already. Yop clarified that they only had 2 weeks until the official match, and that he would personally train his niece until the day of the battle arrived. Meanwhile, in the hotel where the American team were staying and using as a training ground, John Kim, who was the agent and the manager, pointed out how Gerald Walker had improved a lot in a short amount of time. Gerald was left surprised as he asked the manager if he had progressed this much, and John confirmed. John Kim revealed that he had assumed Gerald to be fooling around upon seeing him pick up a smaller shield after his spar with the legendary hero. He at that point stated that he noticed that the tank had patched up his weakness in the last few days, claiming that this build might finally make him top 3. The manager afterward added that Gerald would need to practice his new style a little more in order to go up against speedsters like Nathan. The athlete next asked how much money this new improvement could bring him. John estimated that with the right negotiation, Gerald could increase his next salary to 10 million. After hearing this, the bald man commenced to think for a short moment. He at that point demanded this exact sum to be sent to the protagonist. The manager was left shocked, as Gerald claimed that this was a tuition fee. Gerald was determined to make Yeop an ally regardless of the cost. He was eager to have his rematch against the one and only legendary hero. And so, 2 weeks later at the International Stadium of the capital, the day of the match opposing Korea to the USA had finally arrived. The commentators claimed that most of the viewers must be excited for the final result, as it would determine whether or not Yeop would face the American team. With that being declared, it came time to make an overview of the players of the match. Each team was ready. The Korean team was composed of 3 tankers, 2 supporters, 4 proximity dealers, and 3 long-distance dealers. As for the Americans, they had 5 tankers, 2 supporters, 1 systems dealer, 2 proximity dealers, as well as 1 distance dealer. All were eager to see this match, especially with the Korean star Baek Haeyeon featuring in it, as well as Gerald Walker, the pride of the USA. One of the commentators claimed that he was eager to see the performance of the player who had just changed her position. Our hero prayed for his niece to have good luck on the field. The dungeon for today's match would be an underground castle guarded by skeletons. This place was known as Marta Born's Palace. It had 3 floors, each inhabited by a certain boss. The first level was home to the Skeleton Warrior. The boss of the second would be the Death Knight. As for the third and final level, it was guarded by 1 dragon and a lich. Seeing how there might be some new fans watching today's match, the commentators decided to briefly explain the rules of the game. The rules were that the other team needed to be wiped out to achieve victory. Kills would earn players points that would enhance their aura and change its color. With that being noted, the players finally entered the stadium, with everyone being intrigued about who would be the ultimate winner in the end. With that being stated, the first round finally started. As soon as the match started, the American team charged head-on. After exiting the starting point, the Americans immediately went to confront the skeletons. As soon as they were spotted, the Warriors of Liberty locked in. The members of the American team moved in harmony with each other while slowly tearing their way through the skeletons. Compared to other teams, this one was pretty slow. Yet the Americans would become an unbreachable wall after finishing their farming session, which made everyone wonder about the plan of the Korean team. Meanwhile, on the Korean side, Haeyeon knew that she had to apply what she had trained for. The commentators, who were focusing on the Americans, just noticed that the Korean national team was rushing through the battlefield, only to notice something rather intriguing. For some reason, the Koreans were ignoring the skeletons. The players did the same as they dashed forward into the second area. Everything was going according to plan, according to the coach. If this little maneuver was successful, they just might achieve victory. All were left intrigued as the Koreans decided to adopt a rather aggressive approach by charging at the boss instead of farming like they normally did. This was a high-risk, high-reward tactic that could potentially earn them a lot of haunting points. Taking out the skeleton warrior would also make the floor that he was guarding close shortly after. Thus, if they managed to successfully kill the boss, the Koreans might just be able to foil the plans of the Americans. Only afterward did the Koreans arrive at the boss room, and just like that, the players immediately charged at the skeleton warrior. All were left on the edge of their seats as the national team immediately jumped into the boss battle. Only next did someone alert the tank about a sudden development. That person was none other than Paul Ward, the recon of the Americans. Gerald couldn't quite understand what he meant and urged him to elaborate. The tank was at that point startled upon learning that the Koreans were actually going with a solid plan by trying to take the boss first. Hearing this, then Gerald's teammates proposed to immediately escape to the second floor, yet he urged them to stop what they were doing and rushed to the boss room. Meanwhile, back with the Korean team, the boss was almost down. All charged in as their ace was now able to secure the kill. The Koreans decided to protect her until she could finally eliminate the boss. But just afterward, something unexpected happened. And before the girl could even react, she was hit from the side by a giant, tall, bald man. Haeyeon hadn't seen the tank coming. While her teammates set out to panic, they were now in front of Gerald Walker. The head coach commenced to panic, as it was explained that the tank had used the storm ability of a teammate to catapult himself through the air. After taking so much damage and being blasted, Baek Haeyeon was eliminated. Just like that, the pride of the Korean team was the first to fall. The tank commended the Koreans for their brilliant plan of tackling the boss first, only to next firmly affirm that they were destined to be defeated regardless of the outcome. All at once, the American attackers appeared from behind the boss, achieving a sneaky final hit. Just like that, Gerald and his team stole the kill of the first boss, forcing the level to close in 10 minutes. With that being remarked, the Americans decided to put an end to this round as they charged in and slashed each of the opponents one by one. Not only was the American team able to steal the boss, but they also started to wipe out the enemy. The national team was immediately overwhelmed, and just like that, their defeat was almost at hand. In the end, as everything went silent, only one feeble Korean athlete remained breathing. Thus, Gerald decided to immediately secure the first round. And just like that, the skull of the last Asian was split in half. With that being declared, the first round ended with a crushing 11-0 victory for the Americans. And so, as the second round was to begin after a break, the Korean ace was left devastated. Ha-yeon was shocked to see herself lose once again. But just as she was about to think of how powerless she was, even with the help of the legendary hero, someone decided to use this chance as the entire team was gathered to give his opinion on the Korean team regarding their performance. Our hero claimed that he would have rather dragged his eyes through glass than witness their incompetence. Thus, he would show pity by giving them advice. One of the players tried to state that the legendary hero wasn't their coach, only to be quickly silenced by him. The girl was shocked to see her uncle in the locker room, as he explained that he was only doing this in order to avoid becoming their teammate. Yap stated that it was no surprise to see their plan fail, as they were far weaker than their opponents, with the mental tolerance of a blonde with a broken nail, which is why, in his opinion, the Korean team could never beat their opponents as they are now, regardless of how much they repeat the match. But seeing how it would be too pathetic to see them fall powerlessly, our hero decided to be kind by teaching them how to take down the opposing star tank. Our protagonist explained to the young one that the arena of the match was a dungeon that he and the president conquered back in their younger days, claiming it to be rather easy except for the third level, which was kind of annoying. He at that point affirmed that the Koreans could never get there with their pitiful skills and decided to review their first round. The legendary hero claimed that their plan would have actually worked if they weren't a group of incompetent fodder. Yeop afterward addressed the forward positions, claiming that regardless of the situation, they should be aware of the enemy's position at all times, which is why they should have initiated recon first. As for the back positions, it would be in their best interest to help those in the front. Seeing how useless they became as soon as their ace fell, all players were left ashamed of themselves as the protagonist claimed that their defeat was only natural, as they were not aware of the basics. Yup felt bad for his friend, as he had to deal with this incompetent national team. And so, after making the Korean team doubt their very reasons to exist, our hero concluded his review of the first round. With that being noted, he decided to directly inform them of the plan for the second round. Later on, as soon as the second set started, the Americans made their move by splitting into two teams. After splitting into teams of 5 and 6, the team with the most players, which was also the fastest, would try to conquer the hunting grounds, allowing the team of 5, led by the star player, to farm fiends without any interruptions. According to the presenters, this tactic would allow Gerald to use his talents to the fullest. Yet, as the camera turned toward the Korean team, all were left quite shocked, as the ace of the Korean team, who was missing, abruptly appeared out of nowhere. Just like the first round, the Korean team was dashing forward. All found this rather odd, as not only was the national team ditching their defensive tactics, but their star player had also changed her position. Everything was going according to the plan of the legendary hero. He knew very well that as long as they obeyed his command, things would turn out well. Bak Haeon was determined to achieve victory. Meanwhile, with the recon agent of the American team in the boss room, the man affirmed to the tank that the enemy team was nowhere to be seen. He claimed that since this was a one-way path dungeon, the opponents must have adopted their old strategy by focusing on the creatures. Gerald concluded that the Koreans must have switched plans after the butchery they suffered in the first round. Seeing this, he set out to think that the force to descend of the legendary hero. Entering the battlefield was now inevitable. But just as he commenced to think of how he would be able to use his new build against the protagonist, he heard a surprising crack. Gerald immediately turned around to check it out only to notice a crack expanding in the wall of the dungeon. And just like that, the tank was left shocked as it exploded from the hole. Many warriors joined the battle as the Korean team in an instant arrived through the wall. The Americans were caught off guard as they were unable to figure out how the enemy managed to do that. Back in the locker room, Yahello urged the athletes to heed his words. He stated that they would be using Hyeon, with her great speed, to do some recon. Before leaving, he shocked everyone by claiming that they needed to ignore the beasts if the enemy tank was part of the smaller American group. According to the legendary hero, it was a well-known fact that this dungeon was a one-way path, but it wasn't actually the case. Back in the day, the burrowers created hidden tunnels they would use for sneak attacks and scouting. Before urging Hyeon to use them in order to fulfill her task, Yahello decided to inform the team of a way to uncover the entrance to the secret tunnels. As it glanced exactly like a random wall, he explained that after entering it, the Koreans would be able to reach the Americans without being detected. All 11 members of the team were supposed to unite, attacking the two split American groups. And just like that, Korea managed to take the United States by surprise and finally take them from behind. Back to the present, as soon as the ace of the Koreans landed, she recalled the advice of her uncle regarding using the legs of the tank as targets. Hyeon theorized that this might not be a good strategy, as Gerald was known for being a tank that always stood tall, meaning that his legs must be pretty powerful. Yahello explained that since he was using a minuscule shield that he hadn't mastered yet, he wouldn't be able to guard his entire body and would have a hard time protecting his allies. Next again, the legendary hero stated that Gerald was talented enough to quickly master the tiny shield, and that his legs couldn't exactly be labeled as weak. Yet Yahello was certain that a group of 5, certain of its victory, would be caught off guard by the sneak attack of an entire team with the speedy Hyeon at its head. The legendary hero was certain that his plan would make a difference, which is why he urged the national team to follow it. With that, the niece felt deeply thankful toward her uncle, and just like that, she dashed forward. The Koreans were trying to launch an attack before the enemy could even recompose themselves. The commentators guessed that the Korean, backed by the focused fire of her ally, would be the one to take on Gerald Walker. Focused fire was a skill that enhances the abilities of the target. And just like that, the girl, along with 2 allies, charged toward the axe wielder, only for these 2 allies to be quickly slain with a single swing. The tank was shocked to see Hyeon escape his attack with her teleportation. Only at that point did he realize that he was never in the first place. And so, as the girl scored 2 kills, the man quickly realized that the Koreans were targeting the back lines, while a player tried to sneak him from behind. Only afterward did he quickly notice before unleashing an instant counterattack. After taking out a 3rd player, Gerald urged the rest of the vanguard to fall back and reposition. Seeing how there was still some time before the rest of the team came back, the 3 Americans were forced to face 8 Koreans on their own. And just like that, the assault immediately started, with each of the remaining Americans having many enemies on them. Yet the Star Tank was certain that they wouldn't be overpowered by such a weak team. Before throwing his axe in order to secure himself the 4th kill, she decided to grab the opportunity. Gerald was left startled upon noticing someone behind him. He quickly turned around and took a defensive stance, only to realize that the opponent was nowhere to be seen, when all at once, the ace of the Koreans reappeared in front of him. Hyeon next delivered her blow and successfully amputated the leg of the middle-aged man. She at that point proceeded to grab the one he had left with her whip before making him fall to the ground. The American group fought well, but was overpowered by numbers and was forced to fall, yet took out 7 Koreans with them. Now the pride of the US found himself facing an unavoidable demise. Gerald asked the girl if the legendary hero had given him any advice. They advised them, seeing how they had changed their tactic. Yet this one didn't reply, as you simply pointed her sword at him. In the end, the impressed Gerald couldn't help but smile as he suffered a final blow. And just like that, the unexpected happened. Curio managed to turn the tables and actually won a round against the United States. Upon seeing this, the head coach was left baffled. And just like that, our protagonist had fulfilled his promise by teaching the national team how to take down the powerful tank. Shortly after, the 2nd round came to its end. The commentators immediately pointed out the excellent performance of the national team that surprised everyone. Even so, they were still unable to secure a single round against the American team. The Koreans might have been able to survive if they hadn't found themselves in front of the second American group after slaying the first one. The American tank turned around as the commentators pointed out that even in the face of the powerful American team, their supposedly weak national athletes were able to secure 5 kills. No one expected the Koreans to abruptly emerge from the wall, which made the match even more interesting. All spectators set out to cheer as the MVP of the Korean team arrived. This lady had single-handedly scored 4 kills out of 5 and was labeled as the strongest Korean player. This person in question was none other than Baek Hae-yeon. Shortly after, during the interview time, a reporter from XBC Sports approached the head coach of the Korean team. She wanted to know his opinion regarding the unexpected approach that his team took during the match. Jae-ho claimed that, despite the defeat, he and the players learned a lot, as a good performance against a powerful opponent was great for motivation. The reporters afterward asked him how he had reflected of the brilliant idea of letting his team use the secret passage. Jae-ho affirmed that this was a brilliant plan and decided to reveal to the public that he wasn't the one to come up with the strategy for the second round. Only next did the protagonist realize that his old friend was looking at him. This left him rather annoyed, as you know very well that he was still trying to persuade him. Shortly after came the time to interview the star player. The reporter asked her about the training that she had undergone, seeing how she showcased the best performance in the match. Hae-yeon revealed that her uncle had trained her, and that, after following his advice, she changed her position. With that, the legendary hero was left greatly annoyed. He was irritated by the fact that Hae-yeon and Jae-ho were both praising him on camera. Only at that point did someone claim that they were just spitting facts. The president of the association claimed that his friend still gets irritated when flattered. Yap stated that the president of the association should be in front of the cameras for the interviews. Park Jin-tae stated that he was too old to interest anyone. As the protagonist asked him about the matter, he decided to annoy him this time. The president pointed out how rude his friend was, as you are simply here to remember the old days, and asked Yap if he had come up with a plan. The legendary hero confirmed, revealing that it wasn't very fair to use a secret tunnel that only a few knew about in order to win a sports match. He claimed that he wanted to use speed in order to overpower the tanky Americans, only to opt for a safer plan in order to remain off the battlefield. The president afterwards stated how the niece of the protagonist had found a position that suited her after training with him. He next pointed out that it was refreshing to see his plans in action once again, while pointing out that his potential was too good to be wasted. Yap humbly affirmed that he was unbeatable. Only at that point did Park Jin-tae suggest that the little hero abuse his abilities for a longer time. Yap was left confused, as he had clearly won the bet. The president promised to never bother him again before finally explaining himself. He revealed that the Korean Battlefield Pro League season will begin in a few days. Yap assumed that the man wanted him to enter it as an athlete. This one immediately denied, claiming that it would be way too ridiculous and that he just wanted the legendary hero to face some star players in charity matches before the start of the league. And just as the president assumed that his friend was about to refuse, Yap stated that he would think about it. This left the old man shocked, and as he asked the protagonist to repeat what he stated, Yap claimed that he would give it some considered, while thinking that his friend was starting to lose his hearing. Park Jin-tae knew very well that his friend, the hothead, would immediately say no if he dislikes the idea. Only this time, he doesn't seem opposed to it. Yap revealed that he grew intrigued upon seeing his niece fight, and the TV shows could never replace the thrill of real battles. The president was left baffled as the legendary hero claimed that VR might be his only way to fight once again. Park Jin-tae was so excited that he grabbed his old friend and praised him for his way of thinking. He afterward decided to show him the footage of the match that went viral. After just 1 hour, the protagonist watched in bafflement as the comments on the 10 million views were all amazed by the match and were praising him for his great plan. Yap was left irritated and urged the president to let him go at once. He next affirmed that the excited one was rather mighty for his age, as he almost broke his neck. Yap at that point reminded the president that he had agreed to think about the matter and hasn't accepted his proposal yet. Park Jin-tae clarified that it was already a miracle that Yap didn't refuse from the start. Yeop afterward asked his friend if the Broad League would begin in a few days, which he confirmed. Jin-tae was almost caught, as Yeop found it rather odd that charity matches that could damage the bodies of the players would take place before the league. Even so, the hero decided to brush the matter off and decided to impose his own terms in case he agrees to participate. The president was intrigued, and even before knowing them, he swore to his friend that he would grant him any wish in his ability if he agrees to play for charity. After hearing this, the legendary hero couldn't help but smirk. The next day, at the residence of the head coach, with his foot on the ground and his sword in hand, Jaeho was left utterly confused. The baffled man commenced to demand an explanation. Yeop claimed that it was obvious and that he had agreed to enter charity matches as the president accepted to follow his terms. The legendary hero revealed that at first, he wanted to use the rest of his life to watch TV shows before going into complete silence as he realized what he had just remarked. Jaeho grew concerned for his friend. The protagonist revealed that he wanted to brace himself for the matches, despite the fact that they should be easy, seeing how the national team of the country was badly trained, which made the head coach apologize. Jaeho was happy to see his friend pick up the spear again, yet failed to understand why he needed to regain his sword, only to be next triggered by the protagonist, who wanted to drag him along to share his pain, as the only decent Korean player left was Haeyeon. Jaeho stated that it was a bad idea, as he hadn't done this in 17 years, which made Yeop tease him about his dread of being ridiculous in public. The protagonist assured the head coach that he only needed a few training sessions in order to regain his sense of battle. The head coach tried to argue that he was a man on the doorstep of his 50s who hadn't fought in 17 years, so the legendary hero decided to remind him that he never makes mistakes. Thus, Yeop resorted to his scanner eyes on his friend. Jaeho had truly fallen off his prime after 17 years of retirement, yet the protagonist was certain that he would recover most of it after some training. With that being declared, he urged him to ready himself for a hellish training session tomorrow, as an evil smile appeared on his face. At that moment, the head coach realized that he was doomed. Park Jin-tae recalled the two conditions of Yeop, with the first being that Haeyeon must be on his side so that he won't have to kill her, and that Jaeho must also participate. The president started to think of how having 2 of the 7 heroes on screen would attract a lot of sponsors. Thus, he decided to make a few calls in order to cash in a few favors. Shortly after, the news of Baek Jaeho and Seomin Yeop fighting side by side once again covered all platforms as it spread like wildfire. Our hero still had 1 week before the charity game. Those 7 days were filled with a lot of clashing and screaming. Jaeho repeated the words of his mentor regarding him having a failed technique if he is slightly slower than his opponent, which made the mentor even angrier, as despite knowing the right way, his friend still did it wrong. With that being noted, the head coach set out to harness his capability once again, and just like that, immediately dashed forward. The middle-aged man at that point charged at the legendary hero and commenced to bombard his shield with a tempest of sword slashes before finally taking. A few steps back, Jaeho was pleased with his performance, yet his coach claimed that it was acceptable before recalling a time when he could stab an enemy 3 times in the split of a second. Jaeho urged the protagonist to spare him, scolding him as he was. He was in his prime back afterward. He next expressed how his age was affecting him, causing great exhaustion. Yeop affirmed that this was but a fraction of the training they used to do before urging the man to continue, which startled him, as they had been here for 8 hours. Our hero affirmed that he wanted to wrap things up as quick as possible in order to watch his show in peace, making his friend remind him once again that he was 48. The one in the tracksuit was left intrigued, as the head coach claimed that he couldn't watch his show, seeing how he had somewhere to be. And so, later on at the Korean Battlefield Association, the protagonist was greeted by the man from before, who was known as Yoo Hyun-soo, the technical manager. He at that point introduced our hero to Tanner Brown from the World Battlefield Association, who was here to observe him during the tests. At that moment, Yeop's attitude started to show. He pointed out that they should have been done with testing. And while the legendary hero tried to argue that his fight with Walker should have been enough, Hyun-soo revealed that he needed to take the athletic test. The manager clarified that despite there having never been any issues with data transfer, These tests make sure that the VR abilities are similar to their physical counterparts. Yeop was shocked to see how accurate their application process was. Hyeonsu revealed that the technology was powerful enough to perfectly scan and replicate the data of the players. And as he revealed that it can even detect abilities that were still dormant, the protagonist was baffled by the technological advancement of the year 2021. The manager claimed that this was due to a well-guarded secret of the World Association that manages the system, which was created from certain espers. After hearing this, the man couldn't help but compare the word association to burrowers. Thus, the veteran demanded to know if they were certain that the World Battlefield Association wasn't governed by some enemy survivors. Upon hearing that they weren't, he revealed that he would have butchered them all if it was, which made the manager realize that he was dealing with a maniac. A little while later came the time to start the agility, aura, and strength tests in order to create an accurate avatar for him. First, the association needed to measure Yeop's strength. As soon as he learned that he simply needed to pull the lever, the protagonist did so with all of his might before finally letting it go. And as his score of 813 showed up, the manager asked him to repeat the test once again. Thus, the 30-year-old pulled the lever 2 more times, and upon seeing his score, he realized that this must be the limit for his strength, 79. Inside the control room, the manager was intrigued, as he had expected the legendary hero to have abnormal strength. Now came the time for the speed test, with Yeop having to go from the first switch to the other as swift as possible until he heard the bell. Thus, as soon as the starting signal was given, the legendary hero locked his target in and charged at the first switch before quickly going to the other. Inside the room, all were shocked to see that a tanker class possessed such incredible speed, with the exception of his fellow hero. Shortly after the test came to an end, the protagonist asked for his result, which the manager revealed to be a surprising 963. Yeop set out to claim that he could have scored 970 if he had put his back into it. With that being stated, came the time to repeat the test for a second time. On his second try, the legendary hero scored a 971. The manager, as well as Mr. Brown, were baffled to see that the tank had actually lived up to his words. Yeop afterward asked about the speed test high score and was told that it was 1007. He suspected that the record holder was Nathan Bernard. Our hero had seen the player in footage sent to him by the head coach. After that, he had agreed to enter the charity matches. Yeop found himself intrigued by the young man, whose speed rivaled even Prime Jeho, who used to have 100 points of agility. With that being remarked, the protagonist was having fun and decided to retake the test and try to score 975. He next commenced to ready himself. The legendary hero started to concentrate. For some unknown reason, our protagonist was feeling as if he was at his peak. And so, after gathering his forces, he decided to unleash them. And just like that, the third attempt set out. As he proceeded to go from one switch to another as rapid as he could, everyone in the room, even his fellow heroes, was shocked to see that his speed had once again increased. Shortly after, as the test ended, the protagonist finally caught his breath. As he asked about his score, all were left baffled. Yeop, who claimed that he should have scored a little higher than before, was baffled to see himself get a 1007, similar to the highest score ever recorded. He found this rather odd, as his speed should be slightly lower than Jeho's and Nathan's, meaning that he shouldn't have scored this high. For some reason, the protagonist had surpassed the imposed limits. In order to confirm his suspicions, he demanded to retake the strength test. As it was explained to him that he just had to pull the lever once again, the protagonist commenced to concentrate, and just like that, he pulled it with all of his might. Once again, he left everyone in the control room utterly baffled. The score of the legendary hero managed to immensely increase, reaching 890. The manager assumed that the protagonist was warming up before making him reveal that it wasn't the case, and that it was related to focus. Yeop couldn't figure out how he was able to surpass his strength and speed limits. This shouldn't be possible, as according to his scanner eyes, he had already reached his peak. Yet, his results were telling him otherwise. Yeop was certain that this new feeling wasn't alien, and only at that point did he realize where he had felt it before. This emotion was the same as the one he had when he was left alone in the last dungeon. The legendary hero had managed to surpass the individual limit of concentration during his last experience with near death. He afterward realized that the focus category must have some hidden strength, as it was strengthening his other stats after going over his limit. Yap was now annoyed, having realized that he was now an immortal with great ability who had no real wars to fight. For some reason, he couldn't help but feel that he was being forced to enter the battlefield. With that being declared, came the time to use the giant marble for the aura test. The manager explained that Yap just had to pour all the aura he could into it to change its color, which was more accurate than the method used back in 2005. This was the most important test, as aura was determined at birth most of the time and was the hardest stat to increase. After awakening his capabilities and noticing that his order was 96, Yap had undergone a lot of training in order to max it to 100. As soon as he placed his hand on the sphere, all were left at the edge of their seats, eager to see the result that would come out. The legendary hero started to fill the marble while thinking about how he had 100 aura points, which was the peak of the person limit. At the end of the test, the measuring marble turned dark. After seeing this, Mr. Brown was left utterly baffled. Yap, who had scored a 1030, asked about his own result, and only next was it revealed to him that he had actually exceeded the individual record. Upon learning this astonishing news, the legendary hero claimed that it was only natural for him. It was at that point revealed to him that the previous record holder was Xiulan, who was one of his fellow heroes, leaving him intrigued by the achievement of the young one, as it was pointed out that her record was hard to break. The protagonist pointed out that she did have a terrifyingly powerful aura. Xiulan was as stubborn as Yap, which is why every time he would scold her, they would get into a fight with each other. Our hero was certain that his previous colleague would become infuriated if she learned that he had actually broken her record. As the tests were finally concluded, the manager decided to notify the protagonist of something important, as it was revealed to him that his immortality would be forbidden in the matches. Yelp found it only natural, as he would automatically win if he was unkillable. The association formally apologized for limiting his abilities, promising compensation. Yet Yap couldn't care less, as he would only play once. The legendary hero afterward gladly welcomed the offered compensation, while claiming that his immortality skill was useless anyway. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a pointy hood affirmed to the others that their only hope and savior was that one individual, which is why they needed to hold on to their faith. He next firmly claimed that their faith had been rewarded with a great revelation, and just like that, this one person had been revealed. The pointy hoods claimed the legendary hero as the one and only immortal savior who had recently returned, the dead. Now, just like that, they decided to go prove their faith to him. As they set out to cheer and chant his name, sometime later the protagonist noticed an odd crowd in front of the house. This left him quite intrigued. Only at that point did they begin to scream that he was the savior of the world and that they had faith in him as Yeop. Finally concluding that these people were journalists, his friend explained to him that those were his worshippers, who go by the Seoman Foundation. The protagonist was left intrigued, recalling seeing them from the window of his hospital room back afterward, which the head coach confirmed. Yap demanded to know why they worshipped him without his consent. So Jeho explained that they think that he would come at the end of times to save them all. As the legendary hero claimed this to be pure anxiety, his friend pointed out how he had actually returned, and as it was explained to him that they were now praying for the end of times for their prophecy to be complete, Yap was left quite annoyed. Thus, he decided to go give his so-called followers a piece of his mind. As the head coach demanded to know what the legendary hero was about to do, Yeop claimed that the answer was obvious, and just like that, he dashed forward, jumping as high as he could before landing on the fence. He urged the Foundation to stay silent. Yet, as they kept on babbling among each other, he urged them to stay silent until finally they obeyed his command. Yap claimed that he was aware of their faith and his position in their eyes, which is why he urged them to come to their senses and get out of his sight, leaving all of them shocked. Yap angrily screamed at them for doing this instead of finding a job, and affirmed that he would terminate their leader at once. At first, the followers were shocked to see that their deity was refusing their faith, before next collectively agreeing that he must be testing their strength. The protagonist was at that point left quite shocked, as none of them moved from their spot. As soon as they kept on worshiping him, he was left quite intrigued. He was now certain that those people were fully delusional. Upon seeing how annoyed his friend was, the coach realized that a disaster was about to unravel. Yop gave the association 10 seconds to get out of his sight before he knocked some sense into them. Joho desperately tried to calm down the craziest of them all, as Yop affirmed that laws don't apply to him, meaning that he was free to rough them up. And so, after a 10-minute-long beating, many of the cloaked lunatics were knocked down. Yop had successfully dealt with the mentally insane who worshipped him. He afterward asked one of his young followers if he would dare to follow him again, so the child affirmed that he would. Yop praised the boy for his cleverness and urged him to stop following the cloaked lunatics. Thus, after calmly affirming that he was person, Yop stated to Joho that now came the time to practice. The baffled coach addressed the legendary hero, and as he claimed him to be completely insane, Yop took it as a compliment, before pointing out that he never consented to being worshipped. Joho realized that reasoning was useless, before urging his friend to go inside before the reporters arrived. Yet, Yop revealed that he would beat them up as well. Joho affirmed that this would attract trouble, as Yop claimed this approach effective against those who want to know about his past in the orphanage. Meanwhile, a figure from high above was intrigued to see that the so-called savior, as the protagonist pointed out that he doesn't understand the fixation people have with celebrities. He, in an instant, noticed something afar. At that moment, this immediately made him leave, so Yop decided to brush it off. The day of the charity match finally arrived, and everyone was gathered at Incheon International Airport. All the massive names in the field were here for the protagonist, including the American battlefield agent known as Joe Fellman. Joe explained that the last time he came to Korea was 15 years ago, as it was filled with great potential that made the American agency #1 after recruiting. As the man claimed that it was a shame that they couldn't get Joho, his assistant pointed out how he and the rest of the heroes weren't into battlefield at the time. Sulan, who finally decided to become an athlete, immediately resigned after that. She had been nerfed at the time. This was the only possible option, as her capability and extinction ray would have wiped out a team of 11 in a few seconds. He had missed 2 heroes in the past. Joe was determined to finally get his hands on their leader, who he was the strongest of all. Only next did something catch the attention of the Americans. They were left quite shocked as another foreigner set foot on Korean soil. This was none other than Jake Rand. The European battlefield agent was also an Esper. Just like that, he appeared in front of the Americans. The focus of the media immediately shifted toward the arriving European. As Jake pointed out that they needed to keep their competition fair, Joe realized that things had just gotten complicated. And so, as tension immediately settled between the 2 men who were here for the legendary hero, the photographers all at once focused on 2 other individuals. They had shiny jewels and expensive boots. The 2 shiny peacocks wanted to see the one who ruined their dungeon business, entering the world of Battlefield after claiming it to be boring. Those 2 were none other than Jean and Philippe, the Moreau brothers, who owned the party Lumiere Battlefield Club and who were also here for the legendary hero. They claimed that they would make the protagonist sign with them, no matter what. At that moment, all of the agents noticed each other. Their instincts immediately kicked in. All of them were determined not to let the others steal the protagonist from them. At that moment, all heard a shocking sound. The music of high heels had the airport silent. Only at that point did she arrive. This lady was considered a force of destruction comparable to none. She had finally arrived in Korea. Shulan, who was the youngest of the 7 heroes, was here to meet an old acquaintance. Meanwhile, the stadium was overfilled with spectators. As someone claimed that the burrowers' wash would have caused more casualties, his friend urged him to stop saying such things. The individual claimed that the student would be a problem, as he had made far darker jokes, so his friends demanded that he refrain from making them at this important event. As he got out of the car, he claimed that this was debatable, and just like that, the 2 heroes commenced to walk down the red carpet. Seoman Yeop was eager to start his fun. Joho had a hard time understanding why everyone was excited about his hot-headed friend. Yeop gave credit to the coach for this, as he had made him look quite presentable. At that moment, a hungry crowd of reporters charged at the heroes. Before the protagonist could even realize the situation, his friend pushed him toward the hungry horde. Joho had focused the attention of the reporters on his friend in order to escape them, and so they started to bombard Yeop with questions. As the questions set out to pour down like rain, the protagonist was left pretty annoyed by the betrayal of his friend, only to hear the name of Xiulan. The mention of his old teammate shocked him, so a report revealed that the youngest of the heroes was now in Korea for the charity match. According to the rumors, one asked for the reason she would even want to attend the match. It was revealed to him that she was here to meet an old acquaintance. Only afterward was he left frightened, as he realized that he was the one she was here for. Later on, the legendary hero opened the door dramatically. As he made his way through the locker rooms, all of his teammates were shocked to see the one and only legend in front of them. Yap next asked the coach if he knew about the most recent matter. And while the daughter was excited to learn that Xiulan was in Korea, the father commenced to terror the worst. Jaeho urged his friends to be wary at all times and even carry some protection around. Yap tried to claim that he wasn't that bad with the girl, so Jaeho reminded him of how he used to curse and bully her until she started to cry. Even without knowing Korean, the protagonist claimed that the girl couldn't possibly seek revenge with her extinction ray, while the coach claimed that the past 17 years should have healed the grudge. Yet, unlike the girl, Yeop hadn't aged a day and was still the same person who used to mistreat her. Back in 2005, everything was in chaos. A Chinese warrior known as Yulan was selected for the last dungeon raid and became one of the 7 heroes. Being the only daughter of a wealthy family as well as a powerhouse, she earned herself the protection of the Chinese government. The 17-year-old Yulan grew up like royalty, yet this stubborn type, who claimed that she had already reached her max despite being far from it, was greatly loathed by the team leader. For this reason, he would criticize her every move. Yap was, in fact, extremely harsh toward her. In fact, the protagonist even called her a complete idiot, whose only quality was her forces. For this reason, both father and the daughter agreed that they would need to organize a second funeral for Seoman Yeop. Jaeho decided to put this matter aside, as they had more urgent matters to attend to. He pointed out that all of the team must be aware of the rules of the charity match, but since they had a beginner among them, he decided to go over the rules quickly. According to the coach, the 2 teams facing each other would be Love and Hope. The opposing team, Love, was made exclusively of national players, while their team included some selected players as well as his daughter. To make things fair, the coach of the national team, who was a proximity dealer who could teleport, would be part of Team Hope. The legendary hero, who was a tanker who would be armed with 4 spears and his shield, with his skills restrained, would also be their teammate. Jaeho revealed that he was a little anxious about the upcoming match, as he hadn't fought in quite a while. Park Chulho, who was the captain of this team, affirmed to the coach that they would do their best. Yap was shocked to see that these players were so confident, as he was certain that they were far weaker than the coach. He, with his scanner eyes, was certain that he would only need his high-level friend and niece in order to achieve a perfect victory. It didn't take him long for his skill to reveal that there was nothing special about the rest of the team. But abruptly, something caught his attention. A man known as Choi Hyuk had surprisingly decent stats. He also possessed a skill that allowed him to quickly infuse weapons with aura, as well as another that allowed him to harness it to create a shield around his body. It was also shocking to see that the man had a potential strength of 90. Thinking that the one known as Choi Hyuk would make a decent tanker, he urged them to approach. The man was left nervous as he introduced himself as a proximity dealer. Our hero was shocked by Hyuk's actual class, as he claimed that he was a proximity dealer sponsored by Samsung Spritz. When asked if he wasn't actually a tanker, the man nervously claimed that, despite this being his childhood dream, his little size forced him to adopt a different class. The legendary hero at that point asked the player about his skills, making him reveal that he could only infuse objects with aura. This made Yeop realize that this player wasn't aware of his aura shield, which is why he must have become a proximity dealer. It didn't take him long to realize that a coach must have given him this position at random, as he was too minuscule to become a tank, and Hyuk must have just assumed the position. With that, Yeop asked his niece to fetch him a shield, which she immediately rushed to get. As soon as he got it, the hero handed the shield to Choi Hyuk, who was left rather confused. Seeing how the match was about to begin, Yeop gave Hyuk a quick lesson on how to use the shield, explaining that he should attack before quickly hiding behind it. As Choi Hyuk tried to argue that he was a dealer, The protagonist got angry at him for not quietly obeying his orders. This made the rest of the team wonder if the dealer was to blame for anything, as they realized that the hero was, in fact, a madman, as he immediately switched his position. And so, in this confusing situation, the younger player decided to turn to the coach, only for him to completely ignore him and explain to the team that there would now be a formation of 4 tanks, 6 dealers, and a single support. And while Hyuk realized that no one would help him, the players who were informed of their lineups were now required to suit up. Yop found his attire light, so Jeho explained how the suits offered the same protection as their armor, with a fraction of its weight. Our hero claimed that he was comfortable before turning to his old friend, who claimed that he never expected to see himself in one of those suits. Jeho afterward asked the legendary hero about his opinion regarding his original weapon that they had slightly adjusted. After taking a good look at his equipment, Yeyup declared that he was satisfied with the modifications, as Jeho revealed that this spear had received special care. The coach tried to explain that this spear was now considered a historic relic, yet Yeyup could only see a simple item he had received last year. Jeho next urged the legendary hero to be wary on the field, as he was used to fighting fiends and burrowers. He revealed that, despite the national team being mediocre, they were still pro players, especially trained and experienced to fight people. Unlike the protagonist, Yeyup thanked the coach. The coach gave his warning before claiming that they would now see firsthand the prowess of the new generation. Shortly after, cheers from the crowd set out to fill the stadium. All were eager to see the match between Team Hope and Team Love. The protagonist's scanner eyes revealed that the average national player was stronger than his teammates, yet he was intrigued to see no real talent among them. He at that point confirmed his suspicions by asking Jeho about the player picking process, making him reveal that they mostly relied on total points. Yop realized that none of the players were actually talented in a certain category, as they were picked based on overall points. Only afterward did he notice something intriguing, as a blonde player on the opposing team was eyeing him. According to Scanner Eyes, the one known as Shim Yong-soo had some pretty decent stats, with the exception of his miserable focus. Yop immediately theorized that Yong-soo must be a spoiled rich kid, as he only had 26 focus points out of 60, and that this person wouldn't be effective in a real fight. This one asked the old man, and if there was a problem. Yop was shocked to see himself being referred to as an old-timer. Yong-soo was annoyed by the presence of the protagonist, as even during the match, he had adopted the same gaze that he had now, according to the blonde one. Ignorant war veterans had no right to teach them about their sport despite knowing nothing about it. Yup urged one of his teammates to take his place. Now, side by side with the blonde kid, he asked him if he had a problem with him. Yong-soo revealed that he couldn't stand the arrogance Yeop displayed during the match. Our hero couldn't help but laugh, as it was next claimed that he was tarnishing his own image by making himself look like a battlefield expert. And as Yong-soo claimed that Yop wouldn't be amused after defeat, our hero asked him about the work of his father, making the boy reveal that he was the vice president of the association. Yop claimed that it really showed. Only at that point were the players urged to go to the battlefield. Yong-soo was left quite irritated, as the hero treated him like a spoiled kid. Yeop revealed that he wanted to know about the type of man that could possibly raise a failure such as the blonde one. Due to his harsh past, he disliked pampered children who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Now, Yeop was excited for the game, as it would allow him to give one of them a piece of the real world. As soon as the players entered the field, all commenced shouting the name of the protagonist. Everyone was left overjoyed as the legendary hero finally agreed to enter the world of the battlefield, which is why this charity match would attract a lot of viewers. There were also some pretty large names in the audience, such as Gerald Walker, Joe Fellman, and Jake Grant. No one could forget the Morrill brothers, as well as the youngest of the 7 heroes, Shulan. And just like that, the long-awaited charity match started. The commentators declared that today's battle arena would be Asa's spiraling cave. It is made of 3 circular zones, with a secret tunnel leading to the concealed basement. Many types of creatures work in this dungeon, including skeletons, arachne, and serpent. As Team Love was made of national players and Team Hope had heroes on their side, everyone was eager to see who would win. In the end, 10 minutes before the match, the coach decided to summarize everything for his team. He explained that they would start in Zone 5, while the enemy would spawn in Zone 1. Yahello explained that while they hunted and farmed in 5-1 and 5-2, the protagonist would go to 5-3 alone in order to kill the boss, Serpen. It was revealed that Serpen's death would close the entire area. The players set out to doubt that even Yahello could take it on alone, as no one had done it before. Yahello explained that they would next go to Zone 6, clear it, and afterward use it to enter the smaller circle, where they would encounter Team Love. He next explained that he, his daughter, and his friend would certainly take on some of the opposing players. Yup was certain that his team could even win an all-out brawl against Team Love, and that his friend had lost his guts after becoming the national coach. Seeing how they just needed to win 2 rounds out of 3, the protagonist decided to mess around in the first, but had other plans for the second. Back to the present. As Team Hope spawned in Zone 5-1, the coach told the players to take their positions. The ace of the Korean team was the main dealer of the squad, while her father and uncle were in the rear group. Up front, Choi Hyuk was also included in the forward group. Our protagonist at that point greeted an old acquaintance. As the ceiling was covered by arachne beasts, the creatures descended underground in order to feast on the players. Meanwhile, in Zone 1-1, Team Love found themselves facing the same problem. Chae Woo-hyun, who was the team leader, commanded Young-soo to attack, but the blonde one, blasting fire, claimed that he didn't need to be ordered around. Just like that, the giant bugs were getting incinerated, yet the player couldn't be more annoyed. He noted he couldn't believe that the so-called legendary hero was looking down on him. Young-soo pondered that the 7 heroes were overhyped, especially their leader. As he took out his anger on the enemy, he was determined to personally eliminate the protagonist out of the game. Meanwhile, the legendary hero claimed to his friend that it was now time for that move. And so, after dashing forward at incredible speed, Yahello used the protagonist's shield as a stepping stone before getting launched like a cannonball. Now, in between the giant fiends, the coach commenced to swing his blade as quick as possible, and as soon as he started to fall, Yeop would arrive just in time to offer his shield as a trampoline. The teamwork was immaculate, and the creatures were getting easily wiped out. Upon seeing this, everyone was amazed by the legendary duo. Despite there being an entire swarm of arachne, the beasts were getting easily wiped out by the heroes. And so, as all the bugs on the ceiling had been incinerated, the coach set out to complain about his back. With that being stated, they decided to take care of the cleanup ahead. Upon seeing the 2 heroes next to each other, one couldn't help but be amazed. Despite knowing that arachne weren't reputed for their strength, they would be invincible if one couldn't crack their shells. And yet Yop made the matter seem rather easy. Despite the fact that he seemed like he lacked strength, only afterward did Choi Hyuk notice what was happening. The legendary hero was resorting to his skills. The new tanker possessed the ability Focused Aura, which allowed him to channel his energy into a weapon. As it was his first time using a shield, he couldn't help but feel out of place, but he quickly realized that he could also use his skills to reinforce it, just like his weapon. And just like that, the young man charged ahead in order to test his theory. As he took out his first bug, he commenced to think that, in offense as well as in defense, he needed to use his skill. Yeop was intrigued to see the new tanker progress so swift. And so, pleased by this, our hero decided to show his worth as well. When, in an instant, a spider attacked him out of nowhere, Yeop quickly grew tired of the tiny fry and immediately took it out with his spear. As another one attacked from the back, he next quickly riposted with a swift move from under the arm, which left the Moro brothers excited, as they had recognized this move as the protagonist's signature 100-centimeter throw. Shulan confirmed. The youngest hero knew very well that this move seemed simple at first glance, but it was actually a technique that relied on his throwing ability to make the spear reach maximum speed. Yop would only catch the projectile after it moved exactly 100 centimeters. Shulan labeled this attack as a supersonic thrust that exceeded individual physical limits. Even so, this extremely difficult technique, which required perfect timing and great speed, was being performed as a simple move with a great, confident smile on live TV. She was irritated by the fact that even after his disappearance in 2005, the legendary hero was still the same annoying man. Meanwhile, as our protagonist checked on a friend, he noticed something coming from above. First, he quickly ended its life. The legendary hero decided to put an end to this battle and threw his spear with all of his might. With that being remarked, the zone was finally clear, and our hero was free to proceed with the next step of the plan. Jiho started to praise the team on its great performance, and as he pointed out that they needed to attack Zone 5-2, he noticed that the protagonist was missing. Choi Hyuk informed him that the hero went straight to the boss and urged them to catch up. The coach knew that despite his friend seeming like a hothead, he was actually a genius, which is why he decided to trust his judgment. With that being declared, it was time to attack Zone 5-2. Meanwhile, in Zone 5-3, our hero found himself face to face with the boss known as Serpent. That was an old acquaintance of his. Yap claimed that he felt as if he had fought this creature not too long ago. And so, after gathering his thoughts, he dared the creature to approach. The serpent quickly launched itself at our protagonist, only for him to immediately duck underneath it. Now that the reptile was exposed, the legendary hero gathered all of his strength before thrusting its skull with his spear. And just like that, a boss that requires a team effort to beat had been obliterated by Seomun Yeop. Shortly after, he was surprised to see his team arrive earlier than expected. And while he claimed that he had expected them to take longer to reach him, all were left shocked. Yop was sitting on the powerful boss after successfully killing it. During the match, he noticed that their order changed based on their kill count and could grant players some kind of supplementary strength. With that being noted, the legendary hero tasked his team with doing the rest, while the back father and daughter followed him. Yop had a plan in mind. The commentators pointed out how the only relevant characters of Team Hope were heading towards the enemy without getting fiends. To stay discreet, Yop had noticed that the serpent lost most of its health after suffering a single hit. Combining this with the fact that the battlefield had a hunting system, and with Yeop only having scored a few beast kills, he set out to theorize. Seeing how his aura was currently the weakest color, he theorized that his strength on the field was enhanced by his overpowered mentality. At that moment, Jiho urged the hero to reveal his plan as they were closing in on the enemy. He wasn't surprised when Yeop claimed that he had spaced out. As the protagonist pointed out that he had found an Esper on Team Love that was a spoiled rich brat like Zulan, Jiho quickly realized that he was referring to Youngsu. Yop explained that he would go check for him and give his orders in case the boy in question was absent. But if he managed to meet with Youngsu, a different approach would be taken. Meanwhile, Team Love established their camp in Zone 12, which they had just wiped out. The captain decided to split his team into two groups, with 6 players going to Zone 11 and the 5 others to Zone 9. And with that being stated, the players were dispatched. Shortly after, in Zone 9, the 5-man team found themselves facing a horde of Arachne. Among them was Youngsu, who was blasting his flames. Due to the hunting strategy that his team was using, the player had already gained a purple aura. He found himself excited to meet face to face with the protagonist, as his group decided to clear the next zone. But as he commenced to fantasize about his victory, one of his teammates arrived just in time to save him. The projectile bounced off the shield before landing near the players. Youngsu found himself shocked as he started to bleed. At that moment, the boy realized that they had strode into a trap, and just like that, the 5-man group was left agitated. Meanwhile, in Zone 11, the rest of their teammates were also dealing with the same problem and feared the presence of the legendary hero. But just as the captain was about to give his orders, arrows landed on the ground. The 6 members of Team Love found themselves in front of 8 members of the opposing team. Among the ambushers was the anxious Choi Hyuk. He recalled the instructions of the protagonist regarding them approaching Team Love from the other side of the dungeon. After dealing with the boss, Yop urged his teammates to do their best, as they were going up against a national-level player. And so, seeing how the protagonist had promised to help them once done with his task, the 8 athletes decided to charge at once. Back in Zone 9, the protagonist claimed that he had thrown his spear with all of his might, but his friend knew very well that he was just messing around. Yop stated that it would be embarrassing for the coach to die on his shield, yet his friend urged him to just get it over with. And just like that, the legendary hero gathered all of his strength before catapulting his partner, Rudolph, with his might. The protagonist decided to execute his spear throw once again, and so he concentrated all of his strength before throwing his weapon as rapid as possible. With that, Team Love had to be wary of 2 incoming high-speed missiles. They quickly realized that they needed to protect the blonde one, as he was clearly being targeted by the heroes. And just as the boy braced himself for impact, he and the rest of his team were shocked to see that their teleporting coach was, in fact, aiming for the tankers. One of the players urged his teammates to deal with the proximity dealer first, only to be terminated in the blink of an eye by a spear throw. The members of Team Love decided to attack the coach at once before his teleportation skill could reset. Only at that point did the ace of the Korean team come to the rescue. After grabbing her father with her whip, the girl blasted him away, and just as she was about to hit the ground, she used her teleportation abilities to disappear. With that being remarked, both Becks returned to the side of the protagonist. Yop asked his partner if he was happy to feel the thrill of battle after so long, yet the 48-year-old couldn't be more annoyed. Due to their last move, Yop and his allies had wiped out the enemy tankers. And so, as those in blue braced themselves for a fair 3-on-3, their opponents were left in a tough situation. Yop claimed that each of them would select his opponent, leaving the son of the vice president horrified. Meanwhile, back at the stadium, all were amazed by the ingenuity of that tactic. According to the commentators, it was amazing to see his team make a perfect escape after taking out the tankers while pretending to go for Young-soo. They claimed that the legendary hero, with his average Esper skill, was once a true master of his craft as he saved his friend with a simple spear throw. The commentators afterward pointed out that Yeop was still throwing Jeho back to the fight. Both father and daughter bypassed the son of the vice president before attacking their respective targets. And while the boy was unable to believe what he saw, the hero claimed that there was nothing amazing. He next proceeded to slam Young-soo with his shield before asking him if he would like to run his mouth once again. Yop affirmed that the boy was nothing but spoiled bread before striking the final blow. Meanwhile, in Zone 11, upon seeing that Team Hope had scored 5 kills, the rest of Team Love was shocked to see that their teammates had already been wiped out. In fact, they had a hard time accepting that their allies had been terminated so quickly. One of the players was particularly filled with frustration. He immediately charged ahead, claiming that they could still win this round if they managed to terminate the 8 enemies in order to defend their pride as national players. The target of the athlete was Choi Hyuk. This one set out to recall the quick lesson of the protagonist and how he should quickly hide and attack by using the shield. With that being declared, he blocked the incoming hit. The boy at that point saw that his opponent was wide open, and as he tried to strike him down, this one backed away at the last moment to avoid a critical hit. The now irritated athlete was shocked to see that the newly appointed tanker was actually showing a decent defense. Thus, he charged back at him, claiming that he wasn't worthy of his position. As the blade closed in, the young man realized that he needed to defend himself, when all at once he tripped and fell. Shortly after, death particles commenced to fly through the air. Our protagonist had achieved his 3rd kill of the round, which allowed him to save Hyuk. He praised the boy for his performance and urged him to let them take care of the rest. Yop wanted to finish things up as quick as possible in order to commence the 2nd round. Shortly after, the 1st round ended with a crushing score of 8-0. The most victorious player of the first team was Baek Jeho, and so, a little later in the waiting room, all started to praise him for his performance, as everyone claimed that his technique was immaculate and that he should just become an elite player instead of a coach. The man decided to stay humble. The 48-year-old was a little embarrassed to have partaken in the match at this age, yet was still thrilled to have picked up his sword once again. Even so, the MVP of the game knew very well that all the credit for his victory went to his friend, the protagonist. The legend here was immersed in the show and was left baffled by the unraveling of the plot. Now came the time to start the 2nd round inside what was described as a confusing arena made of confusing and dangerous rooms and stairs. The 2nd round would take place in the dungeon known as the Labyrinth of the Damned. This dungeon was reputed for having killed many espers until the arrival of the legendary hero who conquered it. For this reason, all eyes would surely be on Yeop, as he was the first person to conquer this very place. Meanwhile, the protagonist was rather annoyed. Most of his social interactions in 2021 had been with little pricks so far, starting off with the reporter that caused the rift between him and walker to the cult of the insane that worships him. And now, the son of the vice president wanted to witness the skill of the protagonist firsthand. Whether they doubt him or just want to have him tested, the legendary hero puts on his helmet in order to demonstrate what they want. Even so, Yap decided to add his own personal twist to the upcoming show. Shortly after, at the starting point of Team Hope, the coach decided to summarize the plan for his teammates. But before he could even explain the details of the labyrinth, he was abruptly interrupted. Yap claimed that he would roam the dungeon on his own, while urging the rest of the team to do as they please. When asked if he remembered the layout of this dungeon, the protagonist revealed that he was the one to create its map 1 year ago. Yahello, who realized that 2004 was actually last year for his time-traveling friends, explained that this VR dungeon was a perfect replica of the real one. As the coach agreed to let his friend go, seeing how he knew the dungeon very well, this urged him and the team to brace themselves for a surprise. Yap decided to fight with all of his might. Thinking about how the other team was on the opposing side of the dungeon, this made it easier for him to guess their next destination as he dashed forward. Hyeon was concerned about her uncle going in alone, so her father reassured her that, despite Yap being a lazy bum, he was an invincible genius inside dungeons. And as he claimed that Yap must have a plan, Hyeon couldn't help but find Yap outstanding. Even so, the coach set out to doubt his own words, as Yap was crazy enough to charge forward recklessly. In an instant, the legendary hero stumbled upon some creatures. Now faced with some skeleton soldiers, a little sense of nostalgia commenced to kick in. Thus, Yap decided to greet his old opponents, the skeletons, by charging them shield first. Our hero afterward braced himself, and as soon as the right opportunity arrived, he executed a circular attack that hit the 3 skeletons at once, and even countered one of them. Yet the 2 other beasts weren't defeated just yet. For this reason, the tank slammed one of them with his shield before dashing forward at maximum speed in order to impale the second one as well. After successfully taking out the fiends, he started to think of how this dungeon had been conquered last year for him, but 18 years ago for the rest of the world. In the Labyrinth of the Dead, it was easy for one to die from fall damage, as gravity was 10 times stronger where there was no footing. The protagonist was aware of this, and threw his spear in order to pin it against the wall. He knew what would happen if the right technique was employed. Yap next used his spear as a way to catch himself and ease his fall, and just like that, he turned one of the dungeon's greatest dangers into a helpful shortcut. Shortly after, Team Love was shocked to see the legendary hero land in front of them. They were horrified to see him arrive so quickly, as the first 10 minutes of the round hadn't been over yet. Yap revealed that he had completely analyzed his opponent and the first round. All were left on their guard, only for him to affirm that they were nothing but a bunch of mediocre athletes. The captain urged his team to stay calm and ordered the retreat. Chae Woo-hyun affirmed that this was the only way, as the protagonist must be here with some of his teammates. The protagonist was actually here alone and couldn't help but comment on the captain's decision to run away. Yap knew that he would have won the match immediately if they had chosen to face him, and decided to show appreciation by letting the game last a little longer. With that being noted, the legendary hero resorted to his scanner eyes. He set out to look for a certain fighter among the enemy players, and as soon as he located him, Yap immediately eliminated this player. The captain couldn't help but stand helplessly as Yap scored the first blood. The protagonist knew very well that this player's poor speed couldn't have possibly dodged his attack. Yap was disappointed by the fact that he couldn't retrieve his spear, but he didn't actually mind, as he had 3 others left. Despite seeing that his prey had escaped, the legendary hero kept a cool head and decided to go to that one place. Meanwhile, Team Love had retreated to one of the lower levels of the dungeon. As the captain pointed out that they had been caught by surprise, his teammates claimed that it might have been better to fight Yap head-on, as he seemed to be on his own. But the captain affirmed that they couldn't risk it, as they would have. They would have suffered great casualties if it turned out that the enemy had been lurking in the shadows. And so, as he theorized that the protagonist might try to strike them once again, the commentators were left intrigued by the protagonist, who was now standing on one of the high grounds while staring at the bottom. After realizing that he had found a good point for retreat, Yap commenced to calculate the position of the enemy based on their speed and the time that had passed. his chances of actually needing the location of the enemy were similar to the odds of a flip of a coin. Thus, he started to pour aura into his spear. Yop positioned himself for the throw. He at that point got quite excited as he launched his weapon with all of his might, while recalling a quote he had just heard from his TV show. And just like that, the spear set out to make its way to the bottom of the dungeon. Its speed was infuriating. One could even label it a supersonic projectile. The enemy team, which was discussing the battle plan, failed to notice the spear that struck one of them like a falling lightning bolt. The captain of Love was left incredibly shocked as the spear just appeared out of nowhere. The commentators were stunned as well. Yop managed to achieve his second kill of the game by nailing the flip of the coin. According to the commentators, the very scene they had witnessed just now was the most stunning kill ever recorded in Korea. And so, seeing how the protagonist had scored his second kill with great ease, Young-soo was left irritated, claiming that they needed to fight, as the tanker was obviously alone. The captain desperately tried to calm the boy, who stated that they needed to deal with the protagonist at once, to hunt in peace, and send a group to pressure his team. Chae Woo-hyun revealed that the student was right, as they were short on members, which made the blonde one ask him about his plan. Upon seeing the commotion, the legendary hero quickly realized that his prey were arguing among each other. Young-soo called his allies spineless cowards. He tried to explain that his ability would be enough to take out the protagonist, yet the captain asked him to restrain himself, as his ability consumes a lot of aura. At that moment, the boy grew tired of orders and decided to let loose and do as he pleased while attacking our hero. And just like that, his fireball resulted in a spectacular explosion. Young-soo proudly claimed that he had immediately figured out the hiding spot of the legendary hero. At that moment, Yeop called him a total idiot. The one who successfully blocked the fireball with his shield revealed that he had actually made his presence known on purpose in order to be noticed. He afterward proceeded to leap forward while claiming that the blonde one had poor acting skills. Team Love was shocked to see that the legendary hero had blocked a head-on hit from Young-soo's fire abilities. Due to his great firepower, the blonde kid became the core dealer of the Korean team, despite having the mental abilities of a toddler. They couldn't overlook the fact that his powerful fire blast had been casually blocked. The captain split his forces into two teams, with the first one tasked with farming and the second one composed of dealers in charge of tracking down the protagonist. He asked the three dealers to pretend like they were going for recon on the western path to catch their target by surprise and overwhelm him with numbers. The captain claimed that, assuming they could assess him, they would be able to take the powerful one down. The commentators immediately pointed out how Team Love was now trying to hunt the protagonist down, which was a difficult task. After all, Yeop was the player who was the most familiar with the dungeon. Only next, Yop, from above, called the players of Love predictable as he launched his attack. The legendary hero expressed his disappointment. Yop was 2 steps ahead of the enemy and was now ambushing those who were supposed to catch him by surprise. And just like that, he made a crushing entrance. Seeing how all of them had survived, the protagonist praised them on their reflexes. Upon realizing that he was going up against 3 dealers, the legendary hero couldn't be more pleased. Thus, he quickly snuck behind one of the attackers before scoring his 3rd kill of the game. With that being stated, he turned towards the second target and used his legendary 100-centimeter throw. The legendary hero had now acquired a total of 4 kills. Now came the time to deal with the last dealer. Alone in front of the danger, this one commenced to panic. Thus, he desperately tried to run for his life, yet the player wasn't swift enough to escape certain death. With that being remarked, only 6 enemy players remained on the field. Thus, Yop decided to go and terminate them at once. Meanwhile, the crowd was left utterly shocked. A Korean athlete had actually managed to take down 3 national players in a few seconds. All were left baffled by how rapid the legendary hero had taken out the enemy. This made the commentators wonder what would actually happen if the warriors of the past fought against the athletes of today. After seeing this performance, Seolan was unable to believe her own 2 eyes. She was now certain that the legendary hero had truly returned. While the commentators claimed that he was dominating the game, back in the dungeon, the team of the hero demanded to know how he had scored 5 kills. So, he revealed that his aura had turned red. The team was pleased by this quick progress and decided to join him in Zone 3 Osanam. Yap claimed that the match would end before his team could join him. With that, he decided to cut all communications in order to focus on the battle ahead, and just like that, the tanker leaped forward. Yap at that point proceeded to land in front of the remaining opponents. He apologized for making them wait, claiming that he did his best to arrive sooner. The captain asked his team to keep a cool head while ordering them to get into formation. Yap was entertained, as it seemed like they had come up with a strategy to take him down. He quickly noticed that players were coming at him from all sides, and just like that, the 6 of them had successfully surrounded the legendary hero. Yap quickly realized that the opponent was trying to attack him from all sides, yet he was certain that this tactic couldn't work against him, as he had already predicted who would be the first to attack him. Our hero had correctly guessed that one of the quick players, such as Yu Byuko, would be the first one to attack. This athlete was using his skill, acceleration, in order to enhance his speed for 30 seconds. By using his aura, Yeop started to think that this was a decent skill, as it allows the user to reach speed and agility that are over 100. Despite the fact that this ability would make him faster than other espers, there was a clear reason for why the national players always lose in the International League. Yeop was afterwards surprised to see that the player had actually done his thrust. Yet Yeop knew very well that even if he manages to increase the speed of his body, his mind would remain slow and wouldn't be able to keep up. And just like that, the protagonist managed to score kill number 6. Seeing this, the captain urged the core dealer to use his explosion spheres. Shim Young-soo immediately set out to bombard the legendary hero with his firepower. The captain next urged the player known as Jin Yun to charge ahead, as the target must be blinded by the smoke. This one decided to spare no effort. He fearlessly charged right ahead, disappearing into the smoke. And after a quick moment of silence, the player was all at once smacked down with a swing of a shield. And as the protagonist scored his 7th kill, the captain and the core dealer were both left horrified. Yeop now had 2 spears in hand. As he dashed forward, he quickly threw his weapons at the enemy, allowing him to score a double kill. With that being declared, only 2 remained. Thus, after picking up his spear, Yeop realized that he only had to score 2 more kills to win the game. Young-soo commenced to tremble, as even the French team didn't butcher them with such brutality. According to Scanner Eyes, the enemy captain had decent stats and a slow-down skill that works on a target that has an aura that is weaker than the user. Yeop revealed to Chae Woo-hyun that having a good ability won't find much use, as a good portion of the foreign players outclass him in aura. At that moment, the captain urged the blonde boy to flee and let him deal with the legendary hero. Yeop immediately criticized the 2 of them for babbling mid-battle as he stabbed the distracted enemy captain. Kill number 10 had been scored, and just like that, there was only 1. The frightened blonde boy demanded that the hero stay away. This one couldn't help but smile as he prepared himself to eliminate the rich kid. And just like that, he punched him with all of his might using his shield. With that being noted, Seoman Yeop finally achieved kill number 11. The commentators were left utterly shocked, as for the first time in Korean battlefield history, a player had managed to wipe out an entire team on his own. After the crushing victory of round 1, an even more unbelievable achievement had been made in the second. Despite the fact that the Korean team was missing its key player, the fans still. It flooded the media as the legendary hero had wiped them out on his own. None of the experts had expected him to adapt himself so swift to the battlefield. And just like that, all started to chant his name. Yup. At that point, asked about the odd object floating in the sky, his friend explained that it was a drone camera. As soon as he heard that this flying camera would record them and broadcast their image in the entire stadium, the first reflected that crossed the protagonist's mind was to flip everyone off, which left the coach startled. Jae-ho rushed to restrain the one who just couldn't take the matter seriously. And with that being stated, the MVP of the first round dragged the MVP of the second towards the interviews. Shortly after, in front of the cameras, as the reporter presented herself, the coach humbly introduced himself as a player for this match. The protagonist gave her a nonchalant greeting. The reporter afterward praised both heroes for their performance before directing her first question towards the MVP of round 1. When asked if he was expecting to do this well in the match, Jaho revealed that he actually didn't. The coach explained that his friend forcefully dragged him onto the field, yet due to harsh training and muscle memory, he was able to recover his skills quickly. With that being remarked, it came time to interview the MVP of round 2. When asked about his feat of wiping out the enemy team alone, Yap revealed that it was perfectly expected and rather easy. He explained that he took it easy in the first round in order to analyze friend and foe alike, and once done, he finally let loose in the second round. When asked if he had any advice for the opposition, he set out to think of how many of them were in the wrong position and had little knowledge about their own abilities. At first, Yap wanted to criticize the poor work of their coach, but upon feeling a darker presence behind him, he decided to switch to a softer tone. The reporter next asked the hero if he would like to teach the players, so he revealed that he wasn't even tempted, seeing how pitiful they were. At that point again, according to Yap, he noticed all things were possible in a capitalist world, in the right circumstances. Later on, the protagonist was enraged to see that they weren't going home, so Jaho revealed that they were going to the post-match party and that Ha-yeon went ahead. The legendary hero was left disappointed as he wanted to watch his show-stopping low kicks. Yet the coach knew very well that he had already watched it. As Yap kept complaining, his friend urged him to stop and questioned him about his answers during the interview. The legendary hero clarified that he wasn't interested in butchering the enemy on the field himself, but wouldn't mind teaching others how to do so. He afterward confronted his friend, who had become a coach despite clearly being bad at his job. So Jaho revealed that he had no other choice. Jaho considered that he could become a coach after spending a decade by the side of Yap, only to realize how talented this one truly was. As he kept on training others, he had assumed that after being by the side of Yap, he could become a world-class coach, just like Enro, who was also a fellow hero. Jaho commenced to assume that his friend truly wanted to be a coach, as he claimed that today's match made him realize that there was no proper trainer in Korea. Yap claimed that, with the right salary, he wouldn't mind becoming a coach and helping his friend out. He even generously stated that he would give Jaho advice for free, which made him curious about what he had to say. Advice number 1. Choi Hyuk is to enter the national team as a tanker. Number 2. The quick Yu Byuko should focus on final blows, as he can't manage his speed. As for number 3, it regarded Chae Woo-hyun, who would do marvels as a rear back tanker. Yet the last advice shocked the coach, as it consisted of cutting out the son of the vice president. Seeing this reaction, Yap assumed that his friend was scared of the vice president, only for the coach to remind him that he was still a member of the 7 heroes. Jaho explained that they don't have a good enough reason to get rid of the player with the highest aura and the team who has incredible firepower. Yet Yap argued that the boy was as slow as a toddler and was the main reason behind the defeat of his team. Jaho tried to argue that he was still useful, but the protagonist claimed that he would remain a liability until he increases his focus. In the end, the main change for the national team would be to replace Young-soo with Choi Hyuk and focus on his strength, achieve great results. As he ended giving his advice, Yap urged the coach to inform the association president that he would need to pay him quite a fortune if he wanted to get him on the payroll. Later on, at the Hunter's Hotel, our heroes finally arrived. The uncle was immediately greeted by his niece. The father watched in disappointment as his daughter happily expressed how this place was filled with alcohol, and especially good vodka. Thus, as he left the 2 booze enjoyers alone, the man rushed to talk with the president. Thus, as the only reasonable one in here finally left, Yap offered to drink as much as possible. Only next did the swarm of hungry agents notice Seom and Yap. Seeing how the rivals started to circle his prey, Joe decided to make his move at once. Yet his assistant urged him to wait. She reminded him that the crazy protagonist might get offended if approached for scouting purposes. And so, as he decided to take his time, someone came in front of him. That man immediately greeted the legendary hero. This individual was none other than Jake Rand, the European battlefield agent. Joe couldn't help but watch helplessly as the arriving agent and the star player conversed in a foreign language. He set out to reassure himself by claiming that, despite Jake stealing a player from him before, he was certain that the man wouldn't prosper this time. According to the American, Seomin Yap was an extraordinary player who would only sign up with someone that really understood him. And so, as Jake gave the protagonist his card, while Joe was certain of his failure. Hyeon was intrigued by her uncle speaking fluent English, seeing how he dropped out of school, so he explained how he learned it while traveling around the world. Yup at that point explained that during his encounter with Walker, he also spoke English, which intrigued the girl, as she had only heard her native tongue. Hyeon was devastated to see that her idol wasn't a bad student like her, and as Yoap commenced to tease her about her stupidity, she was left rather offended. Seeing how the European had left, the American decided to step in, only to be left behind once again. At that moment, two shiny eggs asked the legendary hero if he spoke English. The Moro brothers were left utterly amazed, as the Korean claimed that he spoke French as well. They were even more shocked that the legendary hero was aware of them as the owners of the French weapon business. Hyeon explained to her uncle that they were now the owners of Field Club Paris Lumiere, which was currently #1 worldwide. As it was revealed to him that Nathan Bernard was also part of their club, our hero quickly realized that this was the boy who was as rapid as Prime Jeho.